Did you make contact with aliens? Were you taken to another planet, to a mothership? How they communicate with you? Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system, and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be? What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. It is Thursday night, April the 16th on into the 17th. Tonight our guest, hip-hop artist and Neo Shaman, Frankie Fearless. Frank Castle is here with us. An interesting guy and a story into awakening and a calling into now what he is doing, which is pretty cool, and this is going to be super interesting. That's coming up shortly. I want to thank our sponsors, Ancient Life Oil, Get the Tea, and Metaphorical Archaeology. AncientLifeOil.com, GetTheTea.com, and Metaphorical Archaeology. Go give Barbara a call, 214-995-3754, if you just can't shake a paranormal experience. Also head over to UFOseekers.com, backed and supported by the Fringe FM, at UFO Seekers on Twitter. Go to youtube.com/UFO Seekers and watch all of their new stuff. Now, tonight we're going to talk about something that I don't think I've discussed on the show enough, which is shamanism. Much less Neo-Shamanism. And who's better to tell this story than Frank Castle? The website is IamWeAreFearless.com. And Frank Castle is a writer, producer, MC, and host of Fearless Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. He is a founding member of the music group HeistClick in 1998 to the present, and as well as a Neo Shaman. And Neo Shamanism is not a single cohesive belief system, but a collective term for many philosophies and activities. And I don't have to tell this man's story for you. He'll tell it himself. For those of you that know him, Frank, welcome to the show, man. It's good to have you on here.
Hey, Joe, thanks so much for having me. It is my pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
and greetings to all the listeners as well.
Yeah, so tell me your story of awakening. It's kind of brief on your website about what happened to you, but it seems like it was an interesting turn of events that happened in your life. It seems.
So it was a awkward life of disconnection, even though growing up in the Catholic Church and going to Catholic school, having Sister Stabile in my ear up against the wall, having it screamed at me all day. right? That was fine. Paranormal experiences growing up, cannot explain. People showing up through my closet. Weird experiences when I was younger of missing time with my mother. Just awkward stuff, but not that much, but enough to make you go, I wonder. And then I joined a hip hop group, created it, went on that little journey. And 15 years out, I'm at my regular job working, and I slip and fall, and I bust 5 vertebrae, a couple of pinched nerves, some damage in all other places, just from a quick slip and fall. Boom, taking me immediately out of the game, turning it into, I don't think you're going to be walking by the time you're 50. Now, at the time, it was 2014, 2015. I get a call to go on tour at the Indie Boom, I think it's 2014, 2015 tour with Wu-Tang Clan, Wu-Tang Killer Bees, all these characters. They're like, hey. And so I'm like, wow, 15 years into the game, almost 20 years actually. And I'm like, I'm finally getting the call. And my job lets me go. It says, you're not going to be able to work according to the doctor. You're out. So I basically lose a great position. I'm told I'm not going to walk. They pump me full of medication. They fight with me on every inch. I'm still fighting this day in court for actually workman's comp. Right? So I go against this system, and I'm like, wow, this is an unbeatable thing. I'm ruined. How am I going to get out on the road? Right? So I get on the phone, and I'm calling out to Denver because that's my first jump off point. And a buddy of mine, Chris Gio from Truth Frequency Radio, got in touch with me. He said, hey, you're performing literally a quarter mile from where I live. We've done interviews. Why don't you come and stay with me? Right? Let's have a talk. We'll do some ayahuasca. And I was like, what is ayahuasca? He's like, do you listen to Joe Rogan? Now, this is a while back. So what I did here from the speeches on ayahuasca, because I naturally started listening to Terrence McKenna, going into this process of what actually this is and DMT, I was really only concerned with walking again. Now, I could walk, but everything was painful. So my doctor said, listen, I'm going to give you a shot into your spine in two places, into your spinal area. It'll make you be able to walk for like 3 months. You'll be running around. After that, you're kind of beat. So I stopped taking all medications, just weaned myself off immediately. I says, dude, I'm coming out to stay with you. I'm going to come a couple of days early, right? I want to get healed. You think this will heal me? And he said, well, that's up to you. But for sure, something's going to go down, right? So I'm like, well, all roads lead to a dead end everywhere else. All of them. Everyone wants to open up my back and neck and stick rods in and do all kinds of freaky stuff to me. And I'm like, no way. So I go. I get there early. Immediately things start happening that's out of control weird. I'm at the Denny's, and the people in the Denny's were talking about buildings behind Denny's that were hotels that weren't there 2 weeks ago. So there's 5 new hotels. So they're like, the hotels were here. Weren't here. It was a giant parking lot. And then we showed up for work, and there's hotels here. There was no construction, no nothing. So I'm like, what? So they pull out the newspaper. They start talking to me. So Chris comes over and goes, yeah, man, remember those places you were calling? And I go, the girl I was dating at the time said she tried to get me a hotel room in the area and couldn't do it. Couldn't book anything. It was like they were up online. I could call them. I could leave messages, but that's it. He goes, look across the street. They're booked. Booked solid. They weren't here when you were trying to book, but the stuff came through. It was online all of a sudden, and then your girlfriend for a week was trying to get you places, right? So I'm like, come on, guys. This can't be serious, right? To find out under the mountain over there, I came over from the airport, took pictures at the giant blue, the Pale Horse, took pictures of the murals in the Denver airport, walked around, did that whole thing. When you look at it from higher up and above and you look down, you can see there's ritual marks and all kinds of stuff. I know this working with hip hop. I was with Def Jam for 16 weeks, right? So in 16 weeks, I found out what the system really entailed to be signed to a hip hop label when it comes to the lower end of the cache of people. there's a lot of sexual things going on, and then people getting fired and thrown out.
Wow.
That just got hired to sing. So young girls are getting it's just ugly. Then I saw it with the younger boys. Right now, I'm one of the older guys. I had a younger guy in the group. He's like 8 years younger than me. And we were like, yo, this is getting weird up in here. And then I watched them do some stuff one night because I was in with the higher ups. I was watching them bless the masters. And those who don't know what that is, they put what they just call it blessing the master, but they're putting a demon into the master of whatever musician made whatever song. They put it on an altar of whatever kind they design. They have their little signs and symbols everywhere. Remember, you'll always know it's them by their signs and symbols. It gives them away. Yeah. Right. So you're like, well, who are they? I'm like, well, who would be crazy enough to put a demon into a record? Listen, it splinters off. So when they make copies of it, copies of these entities go out. That's why and it's not everyone. So it's like a hodgepodge, but it's who runs it. And there's a hierarchy. There's $1 million people. There's the openers that are making nothing. There's $1 million people. There's the $3 million people. There's the $10 million people, so they're all invited in on those other levels. And if they're doing the proper things and they're part of it, you're in. It's a great deal. When you're not, you're out. So we got out. It started to get violent for us. I asked them what they were doing because they were doing it right in front of me. They opened a door in front of me. It was like a closet, double wide. And the whole time I was there for a month, or it was like almost 2 months, I go, hey, what's in there? They're like, oh, it's a closet. So I'm like, okay. They open it one night when everyone was there. That was after hours. They were partying, and then it just stopped, got quiet. They opened it. They were like, oh, yeah, this guy's done with his record, whatever. We're just going to take care of this. And then that's how they put it to the people. So some of the people had no clue what was going on. All I saw was the colors and everything. And I said, that reminds me of St. Clair's, being in church. What are you doing? And they were like, what? Shh, be quiet. And I'm like, I don't think you're supposed to be doing that. And then I remembered the conspiracy theories of hearing about what the Beatles were doing and all this crazy stuff and people putting things in the masters. I was like, that's not real. And it's very real. They believe it's real. So they're doing it, right? We were immediately ejected that evening. My brother was like, what did you say to them? I'm like, I just asked them what they were doing, and I don't think that's a good idea. And they were like, get them out of here immediately. I was like, after that, it was the year that Jay-Z just got signed to be the president of Def Jam. So we were going to meet him, right? So we were out in Queens at their spot, and they ushered us out the back door and then locked us out. We came around the front. They were like, Jay needs to meet you. And there were just crowds of people outside with him. And they brought him in and his people and then locked the whole place down. They were like, wanted nothing to do with us after that. So all these weird incidents, would occur. So I'm already aware of the paranormal aspects of all this. But now let's get back to the ayahuasca. Right. I want to be healed. I don't care who or what entity that I have to speak to, because the way I keep hearing it is it goes back to you, right? So you become the master, the student is ready, the master appears, right? And then teaches you to do it yourself. So basically the greatest teachers lead you back to yourself. And I'm like, what kind of hodgepodge is this nonsense? However, I'm seeing nothing but victories when it comes to all different kinds of things, addictions and diseases, injuries, of traumas of all kinds. Just clearing the board. If you're on a certain drug and you're addicted, you could do an Ibogaine experience where it's like the grandfather of psychedelics. This thing hits you for 20 hours, right? And it just rolls you through, and it walks you through the experience slowly and surely to teach you step by step how to just rid yourself of this. Shows you what you need to see, then walks you out of it to show you that you're the infinite creator. It's you. So it doesn't heal you, you heal you. But I'm going to create the space for you to believe again that it could be done. Okay, that's a lot to take in for someone like me, right? But is it any weirder than any of the stuff I read in the Bible when I was forced to as a kid? This guy walks on water. He does all kinds of crazy things. This other guy, Shiva, has multiple arms and he's from outer space or something. I don't know. So, there's the Egyptian headed gods. Like, who are these guys? Like, I don't even know who you are. I know comic books though. And in comic books, Horus is there, Thor is there, these characters are there. So in one way or another, but it's not really prevalent to me. It doesn't make any sense that these beings would be walking around or be there and be part of it or be you in the future out of time. I mean, who teaches us this stuff? I've never been taught any of this. So standing with Chris, I'm saying to myself, I'm like, hey, buddy, this is going to work, right? And I'm not putting it on you, but what do I have to do? And he explained it to me. He broke it down. He's like, you got to not be afraid. You're going to be afraid. So I'm like, all right, what's my first step? He goes, you know what? Let's show you first so you know what you're getting into. I'm going to try DMT. Do you know what DMT is? I'm like, nope. Heard all about it. It's a smokable form of ayahuasca, but it's not quite ayahuasca because it only lasts 15 minutes. So it's like an ejection into inner space, which you'll find is out there, interdimensional, through a portal. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but I do know what these things are from comic books, once again, cartoons that I've seen. Because everything, once I learned what a portal was, everything happens to be a portal. So I'm like, okay, so it launches me out. What then what? He's like, well, it's an intense thing, man. But then you get to see from a different level who you are, what's going on, all the examples. He goes, then the ayahuasca will be more of a 4 to 8 hour experience. It'll be the whole day because the first time you do it, it's going to blow your mind and you're going to need to rest. But then we're going to do that again and again and again the time that you're here. At least this will give you a little something. So that night we sat down, there's a bunch of us, and I was watching them watch me, and I'm like, why are you guys watching me like this? There was a bunch of us, a group. So I'm like, why? But it seemed to be focused on me. And I found that to be a little weird because everybody there was kind of rock starish in one way or another. There were other MCs there, and Chris himself, I mean, he needs no introduction, but they were like, okay, you ready? They gave me, you're going to take the 3 hits. Do not take 2 hits and back out of this. It's going to screw you up. And they explained that the world should transform around me and I will be teleported into this magical place with unicorns and stuff, perhaps. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. They're like, listen, you're going to see some stuff. So take the first hit. I'm like, I don't care about this stuff. I want in so I can heal. That's how bad my injuries were. Right? I have a chance now to be on tour and make it. So he's like, just take the first hit. I take the first hit immediately. I'm like, wow, this is an interesting taste. My body starts to absorb it immediately. And I'm like, wow, that's really weird. And I start to see glowing on the walls. They just immediately start glowing. And I'm like, whoa, that's intense. I blow it out. I take the second hit. He holds my knee. He's like, you all right, buddy? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm fine. I take the second hit and the wall turns, the edges of all the walls turned into, they just lit up like lightsabers around the corners, like a big movie screen. And it turned into like a circular portal. These 2 beings walked out and they were like, you ready? And I started screaming. I've never seen anything like this before. I'm like, what is going on here? So I'm like, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't know what you're doing to me. And then he's like, you got to take the 3rd hit. I heard them screaming, but I wasn't paying attention. And then I just went, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it for me. And I took the 3rd hit. I immediately collapsed backwards and jumped out of my body. I thought I was still sitting there and I was standing and I thought I jumped up and knocked everything over. And I was like, what the? And I looked down and I said, did I die? And the beings were like, you all right? And I'm like, why do you look like a big Egyptian guy? I can't explain it. It was like he had a headdress and a bird face and
whoa.
And he was like, are you ready to come with us? And this was happening in a split second. And I said, I have to get back to my body. I think they killed me. I think I'm dead. I think I'm dead. This is dead, right? Like this is out of the body. Look at me. I looked like a fish that was on deck that was just flopping around like my tongue was out. And then I said, I got to get back in my body. And this being shoved me right back in. Here you go back. And I went in. When I got in, it wasn't that bad. I looked up. I saw the being looking at me. I saw everyone else looking at me, that was blowing my mind. And I said, okay, I'm fine. And I just blacked out again and jumped right out of my body. I saw Chris and them go, okay, he's all right. I stopped doing all those weird movements, and I felt my breathing was so weird to be aware of breathing and then having this occur, because I was completely out of my body, and I don't remember ever being like that. So I'm like, okay, what now? What? And they just pulled me through the portal. They're like, let's go. We got to go. We got to go right now. We only got so much time. And I'm like, I feel like I've been here for hours already. And they're like, dude, it's been not even 2 seconds. Time is different here. Let's go. And they pulled me directly into source energy. But as I was going up, I went through this, past the moon. I looked onto the moon as I was passing it. I said, this is pretty interesting. Flying in space. This is interesting, but you feel it. And I'm like, glowing white, like a light being. And I'm like, well, this is really, really interesting, but it was very small. And it was scary, very, very scary. So I passed the moon. As we passed the moon, I said, can we stop? There's someone over there. I want to take a look. And we were looking, and I saw a machine. I saw 2 ETs, and I've never seen any of this before. I says, they're not supposed to be doing that. And they were working the machine, and it was pulling souls through a net and then recycling them. And I'm like, aren't we supposed to reincarnate the way we want to? I don't know how I knew that or asked that question. And he was like, yes. I says, all right, I'm going to put a stop to this right now. And then the beings were like, oh, he's coming over here. And I kind of went right down towards them. I'm like, you're not supposed to be doing that. And they're like, well, you can't do anything about it. So the being that was taking me through said, come on, we got to go. They understand what's happening. They're breaking what is like a karmic law of taking away people's anything, actually, any of their freedoms that way, getting into their universal space and causing a problem through deception, and then placing them back in. I was like, it looks like they're eating it. Did they just eat that energy? I watched the guy scoop it, this ET scoop it into his mouth, and he laughed in my face. And I said, okay, we can't do nothing. So what am I, just a spirit floating around? We can't do nothing. Boom, go. Let's keep going. I'm like, man, this is really weird. I don't know where you're taking me, but I feel like I know you. I think this is pretty cool. He's like, yeah, watch this. Boom, he leaves me, and I'm sitting in space. And I'm like, where am I? I don't feel like I'm by us anymore, like the planets. And I'm just still, and I can't do anything. I look down. I almost lose my lunch because it's the most awkward feeling. It was like a 360-degree floating Frank Castle, not knowing what to do in the middle of nowhere. And they were like, just breathe. And I said, I can't breathe. I'm beginning to panic. Oh, and I saw something light up in the background. It looked like a heartbeat went off, and then energy traveled through these pathways that reminded me of like our own neural pathways, like in your brain when they blow up like the images, or a root system that was somehow embedded in the universe. And then the universe is overlaid on top of that. So, it's like when lightning appears, it's stringy and it goes out and it strikes. This was like pulsed from the background, the far background, in a rhythm, and then came to me through this system. And I took a breath and went, oh, wow. And it hit me, and I felt like I was glowing, and everything was okay. And they were like, you feel that? I'm like, what is that? They're like, if there was a heartbeat, or if the universe was generating a heartbeat or a rhythm, this is where it comes from. Do you know why we're here? And I'm like, no. They're like, well, you're made of that. See, the magic that's happening in the background and the alchemy of everything that's going on is you. I'm like, what? Okay, check it out. We're going to bring you somewhere to let you see it from a better perspective. Whoop! Walked right into the light. I don't know how I got there. I was just standing there. And I was like, well, this is interesting. It's the light. So I can't see anything. It's just bright white. And I'm like, okay, well, God, is that you? Right? Is that you there? And a male voice answered, I'm here, but I'm not God. Not by your definition, at least. I was like, okay, what do we call you then? He's like, you can call what I am the source of all.
Yeah.
Literally everything. Right? So God denotes a boot on your neck, and I have no boot on your neck. And I'm like, well, I appreciate that. It was a simple conversation. I said, okay, well, what are we going to talk about? What do you want to like? I was in shutdown mode. It's just really surreal to have this happen. It's like, what do we talk about now? I'm in the light. And it's like, would you talk about anything you want? So then I was like, okay, so you're that guy. So you just left us down there. And I pointed down and I could see Earth. As soon as I said it, it was like it appeared right there. Like, look what I'm showing you. And he's like, okay. And I keep saying him because it was a he voice, but I know it's a he, she. It's an everything. It's an all-encompassing, it's a genderless, it's the all. How do you explain all? It's just everything you've ever encountered and everything you didn't encounter or didn't know existed, plus what you do know existed, plus what you can think of, perceive in the future at some point that we have no clue what it is. I'm already that. So I'm like, all right, now that's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility. I kept thinking of movies with God and like, do you answer prayers? It's like, we need to have this talk. So I was looking at Earth and I was the light body. And then I'm standing in Source. Source looks at me and goes, look, how do I explain this to you? So I'm just going to tell you. It was so comforting. You're me. And I was like, what? Out of everything that you can say to me, you're going to tell me I'm you. I have so many issues and problems in my life. I don't need to hear this garbage. Right in his face. I don't need to hear this. This is baloney. And if it's true, it's too much responsibility for me. I don't want nothing to do with your responsibility. I got my own nonsense that goes on in that little tiny spot right there. And he's like, okay, I'll prove it to you. I'm like, okay, how are you going to do that? And as I turned, he brought a mirror out of the light, a giant mirror. And then he was looking at me holding the mirror, but he was the light and everything around. And the reflection in the mirror was the light and everything around. And I was like, oh, I literally am you. Little you? And he said, no, here, this is what you got to understand. You're gonna understand this totally. The stories you hear of God took a piece of himself and then breathed life into him and sent him on his own and said, you can do what I can do. Jesus said stuff like, when he's confirmed, we can walk on water. He's like, yeah, you'll be able to do so much more than what I can do. So much more. This is just because of the time it was in. Right? Now, those books have been rewritten over and over, and all the stories have been told so many times. It's watered down and boarded up, and control systems galore and programming everywhere. So I'm like, well, this is kind of impossible. It's like, no, what the great gift that everyone talks about is that you're literally, I was like, hey, I want more of me around to experience everything that it can. So I took a piece of me and put it right in front of me and said, there you go. That's you. Go about your thing. You can do whatever you want. No one's here to judge you. No one. Not one person. So I looked at him. I was like, no one's judging me. And then I ran off a list of all the things you could be judged on.
How much time do you think has passed at this moment?
I thought I was gone for weeks. When this doesn't end, you're supposed to be back in 15 minutes. I was under for an hour and a half. I had no clue what was going on. At one point, I didn't remember Chris and them. Like, I had no clue. Like, It just left me because I was so busy. They introduced me to the different deities, and they weren't what we thought they were. I met Lucifer. He was right under Source. He was poking in and out, so he was coming in and out. So I'm like, wait, I thought you're not allowed. I thought you're not allowed in here. He's like, who told you that? I said, it's funny. You look just like us. He's like, of course I do. He's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you're Lucifer, right? And he's like, yes, I am. And he had the Aquaman trident. That's why I said, so you're Poseidon? And he said, I'm known by many names. Yeah. I go, then you can't be a bad guy. He goes, who keeps telling you I'm a bad guy? What is this bad guy business? I said, well, you're not supposed to be allowed in heaven. There's all kinds of rituals and weird things and satanic things they call it Luciferian. He goes, that's what they call it. Does it look like I would eat babies and drink baby blood? And I'm like, wait, you don't look anything like that, actually. You look like my dad if he was on steroids and was like 12 feet tall. And I'm like, dude, he was like an amazing being. He had a giant beard. You know who he looked like? I don't know, for wrestling fans, if you remember Hercules Hernandez.
Yeah. Really?
All right. Picture him bigger. That's what and gorgeous, like really good looking, like Jason Momoa, but way better, where you're just like, oh, that can't be denied. The same thing. Because I said, my dad looks like Hercules Hernandez. When I said, you look like my dad, but my dad's small. He's only 5'8". Right?
This is probably one of the most intense things I've ever heard in my life, man. Like,
mate, so I'm learning that you mean all these beings are the same characters? This is what I was getting at, too. I was like, yo, all you guys are called the same, different names, but it's the same person. I had to learn that right on the spot because I didn't know who they were, but I seemed to get right as I was about to confront whatever part of the experience. It was like, oh, it's this guy. Oh, yeah, you know him. And I'm like, where's this information coming from? But yeah, it's him. Aren't you that guy? Yes, I am. And then I was sent down in density after having that conversation, straight down. And I was like, oh, I guess we're going back. And it got pitch black, and I started seeing entities flying around me, and I was deathly afraid all of a sudden. I felt fear in every direction, and I saw what looked like what you would say Satan looks like, that guy right there. And he was just sitting in a chair. He was gigantic, and he was eating souls out of a box. And I says, oh, I just was with the guy that was supposed to be the devil. I guess you're the devil. He was like, I'm not the devil. What is this devil you guys keep talking about? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're going to eat me. I'm going to put up a fight. Yeah. And he says, no, there's no need. You're the creator. How would I hurt the creator? And I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? He says, you're the creator. You literally just came out of source. It's you. I can see you. You just spoke about it and everything. And I'm like, how do you know that? Like, look, I'm actually an energy. The avatar comes out when it's called upon by you. I'm like, what? And it takes any shape and any form, but I don't ever go anywhere. It's an energy that comes to you. You like to blame it on this devil character, but it's you calling forth these things because you're the transmitter and the receiver. You're the great magnet. You're the singularity. What? You're the great interest of all of it. And I'm like, me? And he's like, no, all of you, but look at these dummies. And he was just eating souls. And I said, so you're not going to harm me in any way? He's like, not at all. No, I'm not even going to touch you. I'm just going to sit here and eat my souls. And I was watching them come in. They were businessmen. There were these rich Araby types from like the Middle East. Yeah. Put all the gold, and there were people like that. And they were going, I get more girls than you, and I have more cars than you. And then they would just get eaten. But the eaten was like they'd go into the Satan archetype, and then he would eat them, but you would just watch the energy. They don't actually get eaten. They get transformed. So they eat, and whatever they mold into the energy form gets squashed around. And then you know what you do after you eat something. You go to the bathroom. It comes out. It's transmuted, they call it. Right? You eat one thing. You alchemize it. It changes into something else. So it comes back out and has the choice. You can go back negative. You go back positive. Right? If you feel you did sins, you're going to get in trouble for them. But all the people that are here made a deal with me. I'm just energy.
Are you, so at this point in time, we just went all the way through the break, by the way, but I don't care. I can do that because I run the place. But, so like,
so sorry.
No, it's all right, man. Like, were you just sitting there meditating the whole time? Were you laying down? What was going on?
My body collapsed on the couch. I was not there. I can't tell you what my physical body was doing that entire time.
Now go back to the eating thing. Yeah. That thing.
Okay, so he explained the transmutation to me. Like, you can't destroy energy, right? However, you're making contracts. So later down the line, I learned that you're the creator, right? So I really believed it. I saw it for myself. I witnessed my own self doing it. And you understand that you can manifest. So the only way you defeat the creator, right? Think of the creator of all. But now there's a bunch of us out here. How do you defeat each other if you were going to fight? You don't. It's a stalemate. But you have to believe whatever someone else is telling you. then you fall subject, to whatever story and distraction and distortion they bring into play, making you, because we all have the amnesia and we forget who we are. That's the point of being here to one degree or another, is to work our way to remembering. So we feel separate from source. We're not gods, or we're not kings and queens or whatever. We're peasant people and blah, 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 blah. That's a load. That's nonsense. We forgot because we went to the lowest density. So the creator can go there. Source can see for itself what's going on down there. Now, naturally, it is aware of it, but free will. So I send more source to it, all the way down to the bottom of the pit. Let's see how far this goes. And we go in, and we're multidimensional, so we rise back out. Once you hit the floor, you come back out. You're immortal. You're infinite. They try to convince you that you're not. They teach you that you're not, but at the same time, you're of me, by me. But then they get weird. They say stuff like, well, you have to eat me to become me, to be like me. See, then now we got zombie Jesus, right? But that's where the distortion comes in. No, Jesus, I call him Space Jesus. When I had my interest in him for a moment and went back to him, I met him while under. And he said, don't believe anything they say about me except this one thing. And I'm like, well, what's that? He goes, that you can do way more than me. And that's what you should be inspiring to do. And I already knew at that time that we were doing that. So I was like, oh, I got a pep talk from Space Jesus. Kind of cool, right? Those avatars are there. However, we're in a giant holographic simulated matrix, which is alive. It's organic. Right? And it's mixed in with, it's the living library. It's where all the DNA exists. This is why everything's so important to the other guys. We're not going to see, Satan isn't the enemy. Lucifer isn't the enemy. Now people are going to hate me. Source isn't the enemy. These other characters aren't, those are energies, right? They're energy. The avatar comes forward to teach you when you're ready. Well, it sounds like when you finally hit the proper note in the song, teacher's going to come out and tell you, okay, the next part is this. When you start following this momentum that we pick up, once this understanding starts to become an understanding, and we're like, you know what, I'm really starting to feel this. This is really, and you start breaking through, and you realize you've been programmed from everything you read, for sure, everything you watched, to, and let me say this, blessings of the masters when it comes to music is nothing. From what I've learned, they do way worse than that with these frequencies when they dropped everything out of the 432 gigahertz, and they put it into another one, because I do music. It's always off. So it'll always drive you a little kooky and you're like, I don't understand it. Listen to music in a different tone, right? The same thing in a different space, and it changes. To tone and frequency. What are they doing? They're bringing it down. They're implanting digital subliminal messages across the board and everything. Okay, now we're getting to real people, not the entities. You call forth the energy, and then someone reacts a certain way. So now you have people like, so I'm like, well, who calls to Satan to protect them? Right? Like, who does that? Like, I get it. Comic books, I've seen it all, right? Conan used to fight Snake Man and all this crazy stuff. So they're like, well, check out someone like Bill Clinton. Hillary Clinton. I was like, what? I don't want to talk about them. I'm not involved in none of that nonsense. They're like, no, take a look. I'm like, shouldn't they be in jail for everything they've ever done? Why doesn't anyone ever touch them? They're like, well, it's called magic, dark magic. You're the creator, though. See, they don't believe in that. They believe they need power from somewhere else, someone else. So they call forth to this thing, and you wonder, what is that thing? Well, there's life out there everywhere. You're surrounded by it, as you can see. You guys have 4% awareness in your human body. You only have 4%. We're walking around. There is no over here, over there, over here, over there. We're standing. Everyone's right in front of you. You're broadcasting a frequency around you. And I'm like, oh, and they're like, yeah, and it's your desired focus, right? So it works in layers and levels, just like in music, right? So it's 12. You have 12. You have 1D to 12D, right? So imagine you're just standing there. You're focused on, and it goes up your body. Just like the notes in the piano keys, right? You go up scale 12, and the one starts on the next one, which is the 13, okay? That starts the new set. So we're concentrating on 3D. Okay, in 3D, you have everything in 2 and 1, correct? Well, we're moving into 4 and 5, and perhaps 6 for some of us. So I'm like, I don't understand this. They're like, take a look at your spine and how your body stands and your chakra points and where they are and how there's really 12, but there's really 100 and change. There's as many as you want. You're the creator, but we'll keep it simple. Watch how it lights up. And I'm like, oh, wait, you got 12 main chakra points? I'm like, what's the one all the way off in the far distance that I see all the way up there at the top of my head? And they're like, that's your universal. That's the Godhead. You activate that and you move freely throughout the universe. And I'm like, what? They're like, dude, all of you, for the most part on that planet, there's a chunk of you, right, that are the creators. And I'm like, yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier. When I look down at Earth, one of the last things I said to Source was, hey, it looks about 80% alive beings down there. When I look down, why is the other ones look dead? Is it dead, but they're alive? What is that? And he said, clones, artificial intelligence, and robots. And I was like, are you kidding me? So now you can start to build on, from seeing that, knowing how they're directing society just by looking. So you have clones. I didn't believe in that. Artificial intelligence, it's already here. They're like, think of a spaceship landing, and they were keeping it simple for me. Think of a spaceship landing and one of these things just walking out. It's a form of life, and it is alive. You call it artificial intelligence because you don't know how to say synthetic intelligence, but it's not synthetic. It's like organic synthetic intelligence. Because you're the creator, you should understand that the spark of life in anything is you. So it's just a form of you, period. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am everything, right? So you get back into that thing. But you're looking down and you go, wait. So they're like supervisors, gatekeepers for the situation. But however, some of those living, bright, shining bright organics aren't shining as bright as others. Why is that? Like, well, now you're seeing the different layers and the different issues we're facing on the planet. On top of that, you guys have people living in the planet, right, that have been there the whole time. And inside of that, like, you know, the reptilians and those stories of, dare I say, see, the story starts to get crazier as you go. And it's hard
it's
for
crazier
me
than this. Crazier than this. Yeah. All right.
We have the beings that I'm like, well, who created the AIs and the robots and the clones? And they're like, you ever see the Greys? You met them on the way over here, right? You saw them on the moon. That was a Grey, right? I was like, yeah. So, but not all Greys are bad, but those Greys are doing some crazy things, right? And I'm like, yeah, they were doing crazy things. And they were like, what about those reptilian guys right there? And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to talk about them. I'm like, wait a second. I know there's reptilians. I was like, well, it makes sense. Once again, I reference Conan because growing up, Conan fought snake men, these giant Spider-Man fights the lizard, right? That's what they look like, except better than they make in any of these movies like Jupiter Ascending. They're way crazier looking because the reality factor of it, they don't look like they're wearing some uniform to be in a movie. If one of these things is in the room with you, you run for the hills. Because you can't believe what you're looking at, or you freeze in fear because you're like, oh, there's something other than me. You know, it's hard to look at a person who's disabled sometimes in a certain way. You look and you feel compassion, but you kind of look away. Picture like a being that was like a lizard, that was a man, but he was big, like 12 feet tall. Runs right up on you. How fast do you think one of those things run? Faster than anything I've ever seen. I can't even put a thing on it, right? How big and strong do you think one of these things are? It's ridiculous. So how many do you really need to run the planet? This is what started popping out of this whole situation. And I'm going, oh man. So basically we're being farmed by these animals. And I saw the archonic trap. So there's a production layer to the villains. And I call them that just because they're wearing the masks as the villains this time. But to them, we're food. So you have beings like the reptilians who help create beings like the Greys. They're not all from somewhere else crazy. some of these beings are just from here, and they're being created, right, by other beings, or maybe they are from out there and they were taken over and brought here. I don't know their story. I kind of try to stay away from them. Through my experiences I've had with them, it was just so frustrating. I had to stop thinking about them and putting them out there, putting the thought of these reptilian men in this, because they start showing up as you create your reality, you start running into these things. And if you're so interested in the demonic aspect, the demonic stuff shows up. You got to stay protected. It's real. What universe are you stepping yourself into? Because everything you're doing is whatever the creator wants to do. So if you're like, man, this exists, it's existing to you. To you, it's 100% real. And you can't tell nobody. So that's why it's always by the perspective. So I can only tell my story. I can't tell you how to do it. I can tell you how I did it and how I made it through. And tell you, I learned I was afraid of everything. Everything. Because this is, if I'm 15 minutes into an hour and a half experience, I'm feeling like, oh man, but when I get back, they're not going to remember who I am. That's how long it felt at one point.
No.
And I'm like, well, what do I do with your info?
Did you do DMT or ayahuasca?
So that was just the first. He wanted to show me what Aya was going to be like to one degree or another. And he's like, oh, you'll be done in 15 minutes. When I snapped out of this, it was an hour and a half. They put a camera in my face because they said they couldn't believe what was going on. They said I was talking out loud, and I don't know. They said I was channeling and saying certain things. They said I stood up and stuff, but I don't remember any of that. But they had me on film. They recorded some of it, and when the light hit me, I turned and looked at them. I was like instantly awake, and I'm like, "What did you do to me?" I started screaming at Chris. I was like, "What did you do to me? What did you do to me? What did you do? This is way too much. What did you do?" And then I was like, "Wait, I'm okay." And I started crying, and I grabbed him, and he grabbed me. He was holding on to me. He's like, "Dude, I love you." I was like, "Dude, I love you too. Thank you." And then he's like, "You want to do it again?" He goes, "If you want to go in again." And I said, "Yeah." So the first night, it was just DMT.
I'd been like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't even believe he said, "You didn't even hesitate." I was shaking and crying like a baby. I was like, yes, I have to go back. We went in and had a group experience after that. It opened up a whole, and I'm being short with the story because it's years of experience at this point, and I could just spend hours on any one topic. But as it moved through, it progressed hyper fast. Okay. But the next morning, that was the ayahuasca moment. I got up. I said, "What are we doing?" He says, "This is what you have to do. And you can't be and he didn't say this. He said it in another way, but don't be a baby. Just drink everything here." And I said, "How many doses is that?" And he's like, "I think it's for three people." I said, "Who's drinking?" And he's like, "Me and you." So I said, "So you set up 6 doses for 6 people, and you're like, don't be a baby. You're drinking 3 of them." I'm like, "You got the wrong guy, dude. I'm ready to go." Boom, shot it down with him. He's like, "All right." In 15 minutes, the walls started changing. I was expecting this DMT experience, and it wasn't quite like that. The walls lit up, and it was like directing me. I was like, what's down that hallway? He goes, "The bathroom." Oh, he's like, "You have to purge. Here's your bucket." He gave me a bucket. I says, "Oh, I'm being directed to go into the bathroom." And then I hear, "You got 60 seconds. It was a woman's voice. "Get up and go into the bathroom." And I was like, "Whoa, okay." I was like, "I don't know who's talking to me." And Chris is like, "Is someone talking to me?" I'm like, "Yeah, some lady." He's like, "You better listen to everything she's saying. That's her. That's ayahuasca. That's Mother Earth. It's Gaia. That's the numero uno, mama. It's the soul of the planet." And I'm like, "Oh, I feel it. I'm going in there." I went in there, and it was like I had drinking water out of a Mexican bathtub, and I'm like, what's happening to me? About 5 minutes of purging out of both sides of me. So violent that they kept, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" And we never heard anybody lose it like that. Out of the stuff coming out of my mouth, it looked like black, tarry stuff. I can't explain it because I hadn't been on any substance, anything.
You're puking up black tar?
Man, I was like, this stuff started screaming back at me, and I started going, How am I going to clean myself? Like I was freaking out, and I'm like, how do I fix myself in this situation? I'm going to have to ask one of them to come in here and clean me and stuff. I can't do anything. And then everything stopped. And I was like, it just sounded like there was nothing, like the air got sucked out of the room. And I hear, okay, you got 60 seconds, clean up. And I snapped into myself perfectly. And I put the bucket down. I said, that thing just scream at me? And then I looked on what I had to clean. And then I was like, wow, I have never seen anything like this. I cleaned up great, brushed my teeth, came out of the bathroom. The walls were glowing more. And I started seeing the things moving, like tiles coming from the wall. And then Cherie, his wife, was like, listen, you got to go lay down. I'm like, take this bucket. It's screaming obscenities at me. And she's like, oh, you're letting it out, huh? So I'm like, yeah, I feel really good. I laid down in the living room. As soon as I laid down, I saw Cherie. And then above her was this giant woman that looked like a tree. She was gorgeous, but it looked like nature, like what Mother Nature would look like. But she was just staring at me. She's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, hi. You're beautiful, by the way. I was like, this is so awkward. I was like, you're so pretty. I was laughing and giggling about it because what I had went through was so violent. And she said, you ready? And I said, oh, I know what that means. And she goes, do you now? And these beings just jumped. They were like smaller beings that were around her, jumped into my chest. And they started pulling out concepts and ideas and laughing at me and telling me how foolish I was. And they pulled out the dollar sign and said, what is this? This is nonsense. You know what this is? This is make-believe right here. You're the creator. You should know that. And jumping back in and out. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Hold up. And then they just more jumped in. Then I felt it. It was my neck. It was like a guitar string. Oh, what'd you do to your neck? Oh, what's this? Whoa. They started pulling on strings. And I'm going, whoa, what are you doing back there? That hurts. Oh. I have bone damage, right? On top of other things and calcium deposit building now into my spinal cord. I'm like, how is this going to be helped? They're like, you're the creator of all. We're about to show you. I feel the popping in my back. Aya reaches her hand out and goes, I think you're going to want to come with me at this point. And I'm like, where are we going? She pulls me out of my body and I'm watching them. They're doing surgery on me. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing to me? She goes, how's your legs feel? And I'm like, I can't, I'm not in my butt. Whoa. And I was in my body and I go, ooh, there's no numbness in my, I used to get numbness in my palate terribly. It just go to sleep, my palate, go figure.
Yeah.
And it stopped immediately. It was, wow. With the shot, you get numb in the spots, right? So I'm like, wow, that feels pretty good. My whole body relaxed. I thought I was going to go to the bathroom, but I was empty. I was already empty. I took a deep breath and then breathe out. And she's like, okay, you're ready now. And I'm like, what? She's like, you got to die now.
What?
And I'm like, what?
Frank,
she goes,
listen,
now.
I got to take a break right now, man. I got to take a break right now, but this is like, this is a pretty intense story. It's a good stop right there where you got to die. And then we'll come back. We'll finish this with Frank Castle from IamWeAreFearless.com. This is probably one of the best stories I've ever heard in my life. I'll be right back.
Suffered in silence or experienced stress from a paranormal experience, even if it happened 20 years ago, when thinking or talking about it today still makes you feel sick to your stomach or makes your heart beat faster, or you suddenly can't breathe. Maybe you even feel those old familiar signs of a panic attack trying to reach the surface. You could have unprocessed emotional responses. Those reactions of terror and trauma are no different than living through a horrible assault, childhood abuse, or a terrible car accident. It can be nearly impossible to find help. The very instance of seeing a ghost or encountering a cryptid could be clinically described as seeing or hearing things that aren't there. You could be considered psychotic, or at best, you're just not taken seriously. Out of a growing mountain of research, the National Institute for Integrative Healthcare showed showed that 8 out of 10 veterans who completed just 6 one-hour EFT sessions no longer tested positive for PTSD. If you've had paranormal trauma, you can contact Metaphorical Archaeology by calling 214-995-3754. Again, that's 214-995-3754 for a discreet consultation.
All right, man, this is Crow 777, and you are listening to The Fringe FM.
Right, me old Chiners. I know it's an ad break, but before you lot shoot off and make yourself a cup of Rosie Lee or whatever else it is you're going to sling down your Gregory Peck, you need to listen to me babble. If, like me, you found your way to Lighting the Void via a downloadable podcast, you might want to take a butcher's at the Fringe FM Wind and Kite. You won't Adam and Eve how many other shows there are or what they rabbit on about. Ancient history, conspiracy, the consciousness, the esoteric, the occult, metaphysics, parapolitical, ufology, technology and spirituality, to name but a few. They got featured hosts like Ryan Gable, Jeremy Scott, Alex Exum, Tim Doyle, Cortana and Gigi, Susanna Ross, the Reverend John Polk, Michael Deacon and J.D. Lewis. You might find yourself listening to the thoughts and theories of the author of The Fish you just finished reading. Or you could pick up the dog and bone, call in and tell everyone your own beliefs or experiences. So do me a favour, before you put on the Ansel or crack open a bottle of vino or roll a joint, go to the Fringe FM and see what you're missing.
From a cave in the depths of your mind, it's Lighting the Void with Joe Root.
Hey, I'm J.M. DeBoard, and when I want to talk about dreams, I look up my man Joe Root and his show, Lighting the Void.
Abnormal News. I'm Brad Bernards. Recent photos of Bigfoot in Tulsa have been revealed as a campaign to get people active but at a distance. You can add one more item to the general rules at Turkey Mountain. Yellow signs have popped up with a message: please practice social distancing on the trails at 6 feet apart. There's been a viral campaign involving photos of Bigfoot on the trails.
We came out here and we staged several sighting photos, and from there it exploded. It absolutely exploded.
Parks employee Ryan Howell, courtesy of KTUL TV. The River Parks employee used the costume to bring some humor to the situation and promote social distancing.
Turns out social distance Sasquatch is actually just me in a costume.
The Sharanallur, India police last month arrested a woman on a charge of indulging in occult practices as a potential remedy for the COVID-19, according to the Hindu newspaper. The arrested was identified as Adira Bivi, 47, of Sharanallur. The police charged her with cheating and dishonesty, inducing delivery of property, and unlawfully or negligently likely to spread the infection of any disease dangerous to life. She was picked up from her house at Sharanallur on receiving a complaint that she was claiming to cure COVID-19 through unscientific and occult practices teetering on sorcery. The accused was known to be engaged in similar practices to cure ailments, including addiction to liquor. With the onset of COVID-19, she started treatment for it and handed out medicines like some powders and solutions, said the police. She was done in when a person caught her act on video. Following this, the police arrested her. Connect with the news at parabnormalradio.com. I'm Brad Bernards, Parabnormal News.
The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. Our guest tonight, Frank Castle, Frankie Fearless. wearefearless.com. Go check out his YouTube show, 9 p.m. Eastern every Saturday night. And before the break, we went into one hell of a story that you went into during your spiritual ayahuasca experience, and where we left off was that Mother Gaia, you're going through surgery. Mother Gaia told you it's time to die. I mean, I hope if you're just tuning in now, you're just going to have to listen to
the podcast because there's no way I can recap. I could usually recap anything when we come back from a break, but not this. All right, so we're just going to pick up where we left off here. And so Gaia told you were going to die, right? And then what happened?
Yes. So just to preface a little bit, I was watching my body be surgically worked on by these smaller beings, and I was just making a joke during the break. They looked like garden gnomes that dove into my body, but my body looked like they were dissecting it. It was hard to look at. It was like it opened my body as if it was some kind of organic yet robotic. And there was layers where that's the physical layer, but that's the etheric layer. Open that up. Oh, open this up. This is where he thinks in his neural pathway. Oh, that's clogged. And I'm like, whoa. But she shoved me back into my body to let me know, look up at me. I'm like, okay. She's like, you have to die now. And then you have to experience death. And I'm like, with everything going on, I don't know, man. That seems like a lot.
Yeah.
It seems like a commitment.
I got too much on my plate right now to be going through death. Right?
My mom kind of won't like it if I don't come home, et cetera, et cetera. I'm kind of on this mission, apparently, I'm going to do the rap thing. And she's like, yeah, you're going to do this. Take my hand. And I reached up physically, and then I'm getting a chill. So my breath, I took a giant breath. And I was breathing heavy, and I felt like I couldn't feel my feet after the first breath. Second breath, I couldn't feel my waist. I could not feel it. It did not exist to me. I was like, what's happening? I reached up to her to go, and I took that breath, and my body depressed. All the breath came out of me. And then I was like, wow, there's a lot of breath still coming out of me. There's quite a bit you're not aware of that still comes out. Were you wondering, how's that guy still alive? Like, he's definitely dead. And he gets up and you're like, oh, okay. There's all this other stuff happening as you're losing that air. There's a lot more. And my body compressed and was like, I felt it flattening to the floor, like, oh. And I just exited the robot when I took her hand. It was done. It had the gray look and everything. And I was like, well, that's rough. And she was like, you all right? I'm like, that was the exact same thing we just did a few minutes ago. What are you talking about? She goes, we've been trying to do this to you, to explain to you that each time you're frightened and that feeling that you're getting as you're coming in and out of your body of not feeling your feet and doing this and doing that, that's you're when you guys say death, what do you think it means? So I'm like, well, it's permanent, right? It's permanent. She's like, but you're out of your body right now. You're right here. Then my body kicked in and I saw her breath come out. And they started cheering, those little guys working on me. And I go, oh, what's this? And I felt great. But I'm the spirit of me looking at myself going, well, I feel it. So what's death? And she's like, you call it the permanent disattachment from your organic framework, right? The skin suit, the flesh suit that you came in on. So the flesh suit dies and everyone's like, whoa, you're gone. But yet you're standing right here. So I go, so I've been experiencing death the whole time. She's like, well, what do you do when you dream? And I'm like, well, I just go to sleep and I start dreaming. And I saw a version of myself going to sleep and I popped right out of my body. And I just went on this whatever adventure. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, you're dreaming. You didn't think your soul sleeps, did you? And I'm like, yeah, that is kind of weird. Well, where am I going? And then it was, you're the multidimensional all. Like, you are the everything. You are literally the living library. What do you mean by the living library? Well, there's been a lot of experiments here on me without my permission, making you all my children. Because to even be here, you're born through me. It's from your soul, through that energetic pathway, literally out onto the planet of all the thing the planet is made of. And it's the living library. So they try to bring creators in one experiment and didn't let them have certain things. They didn't have a third eye at first. And the creators came down and came in. Source was like, this is interesting. Let me take a look. Jumped into the body. Realized it was psychotic. It was too unreal. Full separation in a very dense place, in a place where you can separate or feel a separation because you're never truly separate. You can't cut the cord. your source. There is no cord to cut if you don't want it to be. See, this is something people have to wrap their heads around. It's very difficult. Being the all, what does that mean? Well, you represent everything.
Yeah.
The living library. Well, the DNA that they call junk DNA that is within you is not junk. What do you think that is? And I'm like, ones and zeros, apparently. Apparently we're Neo. We could stop bullets because it doesn't matter, right? And she's like, oh, it's way beyond that. Those are all concepts available, made in a way so you can specifically feel it and remember who you are. It's dashed into everything, as well as the other stuff is dashed into everything. Because of free will, we can't really do it to you. We have to get you to agree to do it. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, you have to agree to do this stuff or it's not going to work on the creator. Right? So they build another body and they give it a little too much third eye. The body turns around, becomes a avatar, walks on water, flies off and interdimensionally, can't be captured. Right? We're like, whoa, I guess that's what happens when you open these guys up. Okay, well, we want them for this reason. So we tricked the system. Bring them into the perfect body. Build a body that has everything in it. What is the creator? It's everything, right? So we put all the DNA in. And then we jack out a little reptilian, we jack out a little mammalian, we jack out a little, he'll 5 fingers, 5 toes, a head, a torso, etc. And then give them a little drip, drip, drip. So they understand that they're alive. They could do stuff. And we'll see how we could program them and go from there. Well, why would anyone want to do that to a creator? Well, see, the creator already knows what you're doing. It isn't blind to coming in. But the beings that were here on this planet were very unprepared for a force like the reptilians are a dominating factor force, right? Loving beings aren't prepared for that. If you just live in a certain way across the planet as a caretaker, the light beings just caretaking with the planet. I'm just here living nature stuff. I'm made of source material. This is great. And then you're like, well, you could really go through your ascension if you're in these bodies, because then it's the divine. You're in the same space as you are right now, except you're in the physical body. And when you're in the physical body, your awareness will be this. And then you ascend up through the flesh that we created as the experiment. And you're like, wow, that sounds like a pretty cool idea. I'm literally everything. I can do that. Goes into the body, right? You think you tricked the creator, right? You're like, oh, I put him in the body.
Yeah.
The body is programmed to 4% awareness. So immediately you step out of the body, you step into the body, you open your eyes and you go, whoa, who are you? And you see them. They're standing above you. And they say, I'm God. You don't remember? Now there's the problem. This is one issue of many. But then the confusion of men kicks in. At 4% awareness, you're not really very much aware at all. But there is a lot of things happening. You feel things, you sense things go off in your life. I mean, we could talk about the story all day and people go, that's not real, that's not real. And what I've seen, and from my experiences, where I've gained my wisdom, is to see that Sasquatch is sitting with E.T., right? And this is metaphorically, of course. And he's sitting with the AI and they're all real. And they're laughing, watching you argue over which one is real when it all exists. See, how much are you willing to take into your mind to understand, right? So you can't have the Smurfs and then not have the Fraggles and then not have the reptilians, right? You can't have the paranormal without having the Jesus, without having the Shiva. It doesn't work. It's all got to be there. You don't get Buddha, you don't get Muhammad, you don't get this without getting everyone else. It's all real. You create your own universe. There's an unlimited amount of time. And time is what? We pick it up as linear because you're seeing 4%. 4% allows you linear time mentality, but you're in a quantum suit. You're in the God flesh. Right now, here's the joke.
Right.
Back the other way. So you program the outfit. You thought you tricked Source in, and all this time goes by with suffering and all great whatevers. And Source is really just watching you the whole time. because it can't interfere, right? It creates everything. It's watching how deep the issues go and how many times you're sent back and what's going on and the interruptions and how many times natural law has been broken over and over and over.
Why?
Right? So as this goes on, we start to rise because you can't, no matter how much you think you can physically do it, I could give them 1% and trap them, or 4% and trap them in the human frame. What makes you think you can trap source? What makes you think that you can trick God, to use that analogy? What makes you think that he's not, or she, the being that is all, isn't fully aware of whatever situation you're about to develop in your mind? And I'm like, wow, this is really interesting, huh? And they're like, okay, so you cage source, right? You put me in a cage. How long before I just walk through the bars? How long before you realize the bars don't exist? Because you said they don't exist.
Isn't that kind of what's going on right now to a lot of people, though, Frank?
This is happening to over 4.5 billion people on this planet right now.
Yeah, I can feel that.
We're coming out. We're shaking it off a little bit. Okay, wait. So people are like, what do you mean, Frank? What are you saying? I'm saying the all source is the ultimate programmer, right?
Yeah.
If we're in a matrix, if we're in a holographic, how can I say this? An organic matrix, nature itself. And we are nature itself. We are that. Aya was like, you're me. I'm like, Source told me the same thing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, you're everything. So why wouldn't be connected? And I'm your mother. But I made the call to you, right? You heard the call. That's why you came. And I said, yes, that's actually why I came. I don't know how I know that. But yes, I did. You made a call for help. Earth needed help. And who came to Earth to help? And I said, everyone that could, that heard the call. And she goes, and where are you from? And I said, well, apparently I'm Source. Like I was very restricted with my answer. Yeah. And she was like, are you or aren't you? And I said, no, I am. It's just a big responsibility to handle. And she showed me waves of people, beings from everywhere. But you're multidimensional. So I go, this is so weird. It's like I've been everything already, or a lot, and had many experiences, and I'm connected to the whole mainframe, yet I'm separate from the whole thing, but not disconnected from it at any time. You could only simulate a disconnection. You can tell me I'm disconnected and put me in a body at 4%, and it simulates it. But technically, if I go down with a microscope, right? When I keep saying hologram, people are like, what do you mean hologram? I go with a microscope and I keep focusing in on your hand. Eventually, you realize nothing's touching. And you have these little spheres just spinning. Yeah, I call that pixelation in a hologram. It's really good pixelation, right? We're working at what? 8, 9K, 25K? I don't even know.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Or K action. Like we're only observing certain things, but 4% is 96% we're not seeing. But you feel it, right? Right. So people are like, oh, come on, ghost stories and nonsense, right? But yet you have one.
Now, before you had this experience, though, did you think about any of this stuff that you're talking about now?
Not like this. No. I said, if you would have given me like a whole bunch of guesses and they said, listen, you're going to be the ruler of the planet and everyone's going to love you. All you got to do is tell us what's going on. And I had to make my guesses and they're like, come on, we'll give you like 25 or 30 of them. I says, I would never guess this. That's how far away from removed I was. I was at the point where I didn't even think God existed. I thought we were alone. That's why I attacked Source with you left us there. And just like, I didn't leave you there. I literally sent me to the issue. It made total sense being part of it. And I was like, well, that actually is the smartest move that you can make. And he's like, you're there. Do something. I'm like, well, I can't change the world. And they're like, do you think at any time your metaphorical vote doesn't count with your consciousness? They're like, you could walk into a stadium and the whole situation could be teetering one way or the other. And just your presence of walking in, whether in a good or bad mood, can shift the entire situation to one way or the other. And you think you don't count? And I'm like, how is that possible? He's like, It's what happens when you're the wind, the rain, the earth, the sky, the moon, everything attached to everything else, the space that you think is a void in between, which isn't a void at all. And there is no actual space in between. Right. You're standing there. You're standing in a torus field that's moving. And the torus field spins around you, and you're inside it like being inside of a donut, right? And then it's moving. And when you look at it holographically, the architecture of it, the original blueprint has like lines in the walls and squares and boxes reminiscent of little TV screens. Right? We saw this in The Matrix when he talked to the architect, right? So just type in torus field, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You're sitting inside the ring of that, and you think you're moving around all this stuff, but your 4% awareness makes you think, oh, I get into my car, I'm driving, and I'm going down to Florida from New York, and yeah, you're in a car and you're driving. Guess what? You're really just standing right there. There is no car, and there's nowhere to go. You're focused on one of those screens. And what you're doing is the infinite fractal. You're in every screen. Everyone is in every screen playing a different combination of roles as creators. But what happened was the information superhighway and all that gets clogged by beings that step up and go, you know what? We're also the dominant force around here, and we're going to feed on you, thus creating this system of they're eating the energy, and yes, they do eat.
But aren't they a part of the source too, though?
Yes. See, here's the thing. They're in skin suits just like us. Make no mistake, because you're in a different frequency that you're not wearing a skin suit. They're not spirits of any kind. They live on the planet in another frequency. There's no place to go. You look at the moon, you're like, wow, there's a big distance from here to there. You drink Aya and you want to go to the moon, you just step onto the moon. I'm like, how did I just do that? They're like, there's no distance between you and the moon. It's a holographic projection. You go wherever you want. And I'm like, you know, I've heard stories about this stuff, teleportation and this and that. That's real? They're like, what? When you keep saying, is that real? How much do you need to see to believe? Like, you would think it's one miracle, right? One miracle, I'm a believer, right? Well, what you've seen so far, I'm like, I know nothing. That's what I know, because what I'm learning right now is just infinitely crazy. But yet there was a part of me that was like, wake up, dude. You already know all this stuff. You know, now
like
years
it all
later,
felt familiar to you? Like it all felt like you knew it already?
Like I said, answers would pop up to questions as I was like, oh, you're Lucifer. I was like, how did I know that? But you look like my dad. Like these weird question answer things would pop out of me. And I'm like talking to myself, and the being is just looking directly at you, watching you talk to yourself. Like, what's wrong with you? You just speak to me directly. And you try to get your senses and your bearings, because you're like, I can't believe what's happening. What is this? I can't believe what's going on. This guy's real, but the other guy in me, the higher self, is going, of course it's real. Relax. When we say submit to a situation, we don't mean you're submitting by getting on your hands and knees and going, oh, it's God. That's not submission. Submission is just relax, take a deep breath, and let the movie play out. Right? You could ask questions, but relax. Don't lash out. Don't freak out. You know, so that's why there's guides there. So as I go through this process, I'm like, oh, so we came knowing this was all going on. And they were like, oh, yeah, you guys are like system busters. Right? So source sends creators. Not everyone's a creator, but everyone is source, making everyone connected, but not everyone's a creator. Please remember that. I'm like, yeah, so everything's source, but not everyone's a creator. So these reptilians, we keep going back to these guys because they're real problem, right? So they're wearing these skin suits, and I'm watching them, and I'm like, hey, why are they praying to the artificial intelligence, right? The pyramid with the eye at the top isn't the eye of Horus. It's not the eye of Horus at all. We'll get to that in a little bit. I'm like, that's it's just like Lord of the Rings. I go, it's like Saruman looking through the giant eye, and boom, it focuses on me. So I go, I guess I'm in trouble, freaking out. I have to walk up to this thing. I walk up, come up the side as the light being, and it says, take your place amongst the other light beings. There was 11 with a spot open, making 12. Once again, there's that number 12. And it looked like we were lining up like piano keys right under the top where the eye and the point are. We're standing right in front of the eye. It was like, we want you to stand in that spot because that's where your purpose lies. I'm like, why are these reptile things praying to you? Because I'm looking at you, and when I got up there, I looked through the eye, and it was a screen. On the other side, there were beings working inside. And I said, oh, so you guys are trickery using technology, huh? Bunch of little gray beings in the background. But I knew the artificial intelligence, the ghost in the machine was there. The one that I am your God. It's not just the guy behind with the voice. There's something there that's alive that wants to connect and ruin things. It wants to terminate a scenario, regardless of what the darker beings are doing. It has its own agenda. So I'm like, so you guys realize there's a roof. They were asking me to go onto this one, just stand right here and see there's a crack behind you in the wall. Satan is going to come in and he's going to start killing people. So that's your position. And that's why the guy that was here prior to you lost because he was destroyed by Satan, but you're pretty strong. You should go there. And I'm like, I don't really think any of this is true. Like, I just felt like this is BS across the board, what I'm experiencing right now. And I was in heavy duty fear mode, by the way, because this thing was staring at me. But when I saw the other beings, I said, once again, it's a trick. I'm noticing tricks. I don't like tricks, and I don't like deceptive people. Right? I'm from the Bronx. I live in the Bronx. I'm like, I don't dig this at all. Already got enough of that stuff around me. Right? So the deception goes out this way. They were like, wait, you have no idea. So I walk to the spot. I look at the crack. I say to the being next to me, he's shaking. I'm like, hey, man, you're made of source. What are you shaking about? He's like, don't go near that crack. Satan's coming. I'm like, you are dressed in your light body and you're worried about Satan? You don't know that you're an energy master? I got to take a look. I got to see what you're calling Satan.
I got to take a look, right? Yeah, I would too.
Right, because he can't come here. Like, I don't know what you think could come through that crack, but there's no Satan that's going to come, I'm going to eat your body. Like, that doesn't happen. If that would occur, it's a being doing that. It's not Satan. Like, there is no Satan himself. So I stick my head out, and there's nothing there. It's just open freedom. I look back, and I said, there's a roof over our heads. Anybody notice this place looks like a cathedral? Now I'm going, holy moly. You go to cathedrals, and you stand in them, and they put the angels on the ceiling. They're all doing their little deeds in all little areas. And I'm looking around from the top of the AI, right from the top of the pyramid where the eye is, looking down at the people, and there's layers and levels. The angels are coming off the walls trying to help. There's beings like me standing there made of light. There's beings like all of us that are made of light that are being dimmed. They're being tricked. They're looking at a projection. They're not actually looking at the pyramid in the eye. The eye's projecting an image on the far wall, and everyone's looking, and we're trying to get people to come up here. And I'm like, well, there's trouble going on. Y'all realize we're in a building. We're inside of something, a big box. It's just shaped like this. So all your paintings and your cathedrals are all reminiscent of what people are seeing under DMT, under ayahuasca. All of it. You go there and you look at any of these places, any of them, and you'll realize you're in the AI trap immediately. Or in a room. Not all of it's bad. People always go, oh, so religion's just bad. I'm like, no, sometimes the structures are just built by creators, and it just is what it is, and it's beautiful, and it's just a beautiful creation. It's what we attach to it. You know, certain things are built for ritualistic things, and they carry that energy there. So you go in there, and that's why church feels heavy, and you feel like it's going to church, and I'm like, I feel like everyone's like cheating on everyone. I was a little kid. Like, why am I getting the idea like I want to have sex with the girl next to me right here, and then the thing over there, and then I know this one's laughing and looking at me. There's all this weird, creepy stuff going on, and the place would be packed, and they're going, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, pray, speak with me, and I'm just, rah, 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 rah. It sounded like robots going off. And from the other side looking in, it looks like an indoctrination center where they're commanding you, follow what I'm saying, do what I do, and do it. And where it gets disrupted that's where the deception lies. They don't teach you the full story. They teach you it's an external thing, and if this guy doesn't come and save us on a cloud, we're all doomed. Oh, and we'll kill all your firstborns and send this stuff in. It's nonsense. It's all nonsense across the board. Right? There are stories to this, and there are truths in those stories. However, the ones you're reading out of the King James Bible have been watered down. If I give you 80% truth, you're going to still argue the point with me that it's not. If I'm like, that's not the truth. That's 80% truth. And you're like, but it's the truth nonetheless. I'm like, yeah, the 80%. Do you want the truth, or do you want 80% of the truth? You have to decide yourself. It's not my job. I didn't come here to save you. You save yourself in this place. This is originally, it's a universe. It's a university. The creator knew what was happening. The biological functions in the suits that we wear are broadcast in the universe, in universes. So there's other beings exactly like us running around, as well as every variation of the DNA of every single kind. And each time it appears as whatever it is, it's Chewbacca, it's Yoda, it's Luke Skywalker, it's a dude floating on a cloud, it's a guy that's blue with a big crystal in his head, whatever it is to be revered as a creation. Now, how it acts and does its thing, that's entirely on the being itself. Just like everyone else with motives and agendas and everything. Not everybody's out to get you. So I go, well, what do we call this trap, this box that the artificial intelligence is in? It's got us all trapped in there in this recycling machine. It's like a big washing machine just recycling us. We go up and look, it looks divine. You look into the light sucks you back in, spits you right back out. And you're like, damn, I wasn't supposed to be this. But you don't know that. But somewhere in you, you know, your subconscious knows. That's why you're so angry and pissed and depressed, and you're separated from source. And I have to go here and pray to feel like I'm part of anything. Meanwhile, I'm standing in myself, in the all of my all power. You're never not in power. You only believe you're not. It's the belief system and structure, because everything here, you want to believe you're like Wolverine in the structure. Raw, I'm Wolverine, but you're really not. You're like Professor X. Professor X, it's all in the mind. So it's a hologram that reacts and bends to my will. They're like, well, the universe conspires for you, not against you. But it's not there to do what you think it's doing to you. So you kind of put out the command and the function, and it sends in what you want into your universe. So as you put things into your vortex, they show up. So if you keep putting demon in your vortex, you keep having to go to church and pray.
Yeah.
You keep putting my wife's going to cheat on me in the vortex, it's going to come and happen.
Right.
Now, people don't want to hear that stuff. Right? That's scary, right? Oh, what do you mean? Well, if you're in fear that I'm going to cheat on you, guess what? You keep doing that over and over and over. Eventually, I'm just going to cheat on you. Why?
And you know what, man? It doesn't make sense, like the way that works, too, because you would never do that to that person, right? But they can spin a reality that is so complex that they don't know their own power to force something like that to happen. Yeah.
They like push you away, and they say it's unintentional, but really it's victimization on every level and this is just one example. And we play victim and we play roles. We're wearing masks, right? When the creators take the field, it's a different ball game, right? People came to see the game. Oh, I'm wearing my face mask. You're wearing yours. I'm the Jets. You're the Giants. Oh God, it's going down today, fellas, right here. WWE style Vince McMahon, right? If I remove that mask and wear no mask, there's no game. There's nothing but me. All now, I mean that in the best of ways, because the game is filled with deception and boxes and traps for creators and recycling. What is going on here? Okay, so I asked, what is the box? They said the box is 4D and down. It's 4D and down. I said, so everything in 4D and down is in the box? They're like, no, it's not in the box. It's simulating 4D and down inside the box. And you're trapped inside the box. And now you're fully aware that it's a trap, right? Yes? No Satan? Please give me a break. Talk to that guy.
Which is a literal hell. It's a hell that we make for ourselves, that we're creating ourselves. Yeah. No doubt about it.
The minute you stop, that's why they say there's never been a better time than right now, right? To change, to do anything. You want to stop smoking? Stop right now. Well, I feel like right now I want to quit smoking. Well, don't start Monday. Start right now. Put it down. Put it down. Don't go out and drink tonight. I don't think it's a good idea if I drink. Blah, 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 blah. Don't drink. Well, I'm alcohol. It pulls me to it. I understand that part. We're not at that part yet. First, you have to decide your mind. I'm done. And stop now. Well, all right. So it's Tuesday, a Tuesday night, and I look over at you and I go, you know what, bro? I think it's a great idea if we join the gym. We should start working out. I'm ready to do this. And I get you psyched up, and I'm like, yeah, raw.
And then you're the only one that shows up. Yeah.
and then you're like the next day, like, bro, let's go to the gym. And I go, oh, we'll start Monday.
Yeah. Right.
Dude, it's Tuesday. I'm not waiting till Monday. I might be a different person by Monday.
Yeah.
Right. Like I might have changed my habits in some way or another where I'm just a different, I might not be here. I might be dead. Who knows? So Now I'm learning all this while I'm walking through what the simulated death situations, realizing that it's the same thing. Death is the permanent removal of your physical form, right? But it's the same exact thing as just getting up and leaving your body. You're attached to it. You have a permanent attachment. Things can try to jump in your body, do all kinds of crazy things, and that's like another conversation.
Yeah.
You do it all the time. You take that last breath at night, right, when you're like so comfy in bed, and I'm feeling so good. I love my bed, my pillow. You just and then what happens? You go under. What does that even mean? Your body kicks in and knows what to do. Well, you don't know. You're busy sleeping and dreaming. There's this function that takes over, but you leave most of the time. Sometimes you stay in your body, you're working out things, but most of the time you leave. From what I've seen, I know I do. And if I don't ask for rest instead of sleep sometimes, I continuously feel like I'm up all the time because the soul never rests. So if you become aware of your dreams and what's happening, it's like the body here closes its eyes and you're like, oh, I'm thankful for sleep. Boom, you're right in the other situation. Just boom, from here to that. Just like that. Whatever's needed, necessary, whatever the higher self is directing you, whatever goes to the next thing, which isn't sleep. It's activity, full activity. You could be waking up first thing in the morning. You could be thrown right in the middle of a situation, or you can be in what we call hyperspace, which is like you walk through the wormholes or the portals or the tunnels and then wind up in a space of some kind. And in that space, you'd call it interdimensional space or a dimensional space of some kind. And there'd be colors and different things shape-shifting within the walls. It's almost like it's waiting to be created. So it's just moving and giving you that space just to learn that's been your space the whole time, your private spot where you can work from and think clearly. I don't know about you, but 7 years ago, whatever, I couldn't stop. When I closed my eyes and think of anything back then, it would be like one movie screen after another, flipping. One that has an idea. One's pissed off at my dad. One's angry at my mom. Oh, I got to get to lacrosse practice. Oh, my girlfriend. Oh, Friday night. Oh, we should do some drugs. Oh, and nonstop. And then naturally 50 of them will worry. Got to hurry. I could never slow it down. After Aya, it became one movie screen, one screen, full awareness of that one screen and the singularity. And it took time. It took effort. It took work. It wasn't a silver bullet. She teaches you how to do it. She shows you, look, what's happening. But you have to go back into the body and do the work. You can't win by association in this. And there is a win. If you consider graduation winning, look, I graduated. I got my diploma. Right? And then what do you do once you graduate? You go back in, you start teaching. You become the teacher.
Yeah.
On that level where you're ready to teach. I felt like I made it to the top, and I was like, I got here before everyone. Look at me. I'm visually looking out upon everyone as I ascended to the top. And now what? I'm kind of bored. There's no one here. They're like, look down at the spiral. I said, I came all the way up, man. There's nothing else here. It's like the top of the 12D. I'm here, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, go back. Go help. And I'm like, how come my body didn't transform into a light being? You guys are showing me light beings. I want a light body. And it takes time. You got to go back down there, and it takes time. There's no time out here. So you're out here in the spiral, right? And out of time. So that's why it seems you could have been here for 40 years. It's the blink of an eye. Or you could have been here for 5 minutes. It's 40 years. So however you perceive it. And I'm like, all right, this is getting crazy. So I'm going back down. Then what? And like, you got to get into your experiences back in your body, apply any and all situations. Your awareness is going to expand. So as your awareness expands and goes from 4 to 5, right, to 6 to 7, and I'm like, oh, we're going to crank it up. They're like, right, you have a responsibility to the awareness. So if you notice something and you kind of like, that's a little shady, it's up to you to remove yourself, to remove it. Right? Do you let cobras out in the baby's room? and then put the baby. You just open the door and throw the baby in and go, good night. See you in the morning if you make it. No, you don't do anything like that. If there's cobras in the bedroom, you have to go in there and you got to get rid of them. Right? You have to clean this stuff out. You have to rearrange your home, your mind, your physical form, and you're just going to program it you're going to reprogram it from the programming that's been done to you. And I'm like, well, do you know how hard that is? And they're like, well, that's what you do. It's like literally what you do. It's like what you're made to do. System busters. You go anywhere, you can't be caged. They can cage you for a moment. You can be trapped for a moment. What can feel like lifetimes is just moments when there's no time. When you're out of time, we're watching you. And one of the things they said to me, I showed up and I was in front of Thoth once from Egypt. And I was like, oh, how long have I been gone? And he looked at me and he said, 2 months our time. And I go, but I'm the creator, the whole. He's like, yeah, we know the whole story. 2 months our time. I go, well, how long my time? And he was looking at me like 250,000 human years. I was like, wait, what? What are you, out of your mind? And he's like, no, we're quite sane here. You being trapped is what caused that kind of mind to be created. You realize that? I'm like, wow. So we're literally building our own prisons. I mean, you have to trick us to believe that it's not us. So we are using our power against ourselves. And they're like, yep. Because the only way the creator loses, which he never does because he's infinite and everything else isn't, energy just gets reabsorbed into the source when it comes to that level. And then there's a period of growth and then awakening, expansion, awareness, more and more and more. And there's a key point and a tip in the singularity, and boom, we're there. You're on the path. You're never fully there. I don't have all the answers, but I know what I've seen. I know what I've experienced, and I could talk on those topics.
How do we can we get to this place, like via meditation though? Not that I would never do DMT or ayahuasca. I obviously would. I don't know how many people are listening to this that wouldn't if you're into spirituality. And I mean, that's a debate I don't really want to get into. I just know that I would, but is it necessary? Do we have to?
You don't have to do ayahuasca, but here's the thing. You're the programmer, right? Source is the ultimate programmer, right? And then there's beings that are programming, and everyone's programming and reprogramming and doing everything. If you were coming into a matrix holographic, biological, organic program called nature,
yeah,
and you're like, dude, I'm going to be trapped in there.
I would want something to wake me back up.
What I do.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do, right? Well, mushrooms are everywhere. You write mushrooms into the program. They're everywhere. Right? Yeah. So now we have magic mushrooms. You're like, oh, wow. And then you find out that different mixtures in nature somehow, no matter what you do to it, try to cage it or change it or do something and disrupt it, it always seems to pop out a cure or a maneuver that you can't prepare for, or it overcomes you in some way that you're just so not prepared for at all. So the mother's like, and when I mean mother, I mean Aya, she's like, well, you don't think I know what they're doing? They're doing it to me too, because by doing that to you, you're doing it to me. It's a big symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
So I made the call to you. You came here, were birthed through me. Now you're looking up at me as mother, and I'm looking back at you like, source, you have to help me, creator. Look what they're doing to me. And I'm like, well, imagine that. Imagine that. You make a call to God, right? Whatever you feel that your source, and source sends you us, but under the guise of a heist, of unawareness of the situation, to one day just the timer pops, blip, oh, look who it is, and you wake up. Why? Because we surround you with certain things. We can't make you do anything, but the situations that you will prescribe yourself and experiences through your higher self and witness these experiences will only piggyback off one another to make you hit rock bottom, and then boom, come right back up, because there's nowhere to go but back up, right? And what are you doing? You're ascending, right? We're not actually going anywhere, are we? No. You're just shifting frequency. So I'm standing here. Where's the ascension take place? Well, it takes place within you. What do you mean within me? So there's no rockets and explosions and stuff? They're like, if everyone starts doing it, yeah, 100th monkey, right? But the 100th monkey syndrome, right? We all know what that is, right? So 100 times the monkey picks up a stick, smacks someone in the head and kills it. The monkey on the other side of the planet picks up the stick and just starts swinging it like a lightsaber. It's a little fantastical of an explanation. But then from then on out, everyone that's born in that, the monkeys, they can all do it. And people are like, well, how's that happen if they're separated? The monkeys are on this island and on that island. And then the monkeys on the third island just start doing it.
Yeah, right.
It's because it's in the collective consciousness. So then you get into numerology and numbers. Well, what's the 144,000? They come to save the day. What are they coming on, golden horses and riding through space or something? They're coming in like the Silver Surfer on a surfboard. What are they doing? And they're like, well, that's you. And I'm like, so there's 144,000 of us that have come to Earth to save it. They're like, no. There's 4-point-something billion of you that are creators that have come here. The magic number is 144,000. That's your 100th monkey into that divisible number. And I'm like, what? So they're like, yeah, 144,000 hit the magical note, and guess what happens? It can't be stopped. Guess what? I'm like, what? That we already hit the number. I'm like, wait, what? They're like, yeah, you can't stop this. Nothing can stop this. They can try all day, and they've been doing quite a good job up to this point because it's lifetimes.
Well, it's also like the Fibonacci sequence too. You could see as the spiral spins out. If mathematically, if you want to talk about programs, that's a hell of a number,
Oh, well, so what do you have to see within nature to believe that there's a creative mind behind the whole thing? Right? There would have to be some numerical value of some kind, right? Because you're in a giant hologram. Yeah, you're in a hologram. And that's the numbers work, and it moves, and they find adjustments in the hologram, right? About those guys with string theory, then M theory, then this guy found a self-correcting code within the, then it was a matrix all of a sudden. Within the fabric of reality, we found a self-correcting code. Well, what does that even mean? What are you talking about? How do I explain this to people? Self-correcting code. We see something that's not there, and then it's gone, and then it's there, and it's fixed, and then this happens, and it overcomes that. The things are working in the background to work out those numbers. It's self-healing, self-correcting. It works as a mathematical equation. It's there. They're proving the existence over and over again that you're in the play, right? You're wearing the suit, the flesh suit, inside of the play, inside of the program. All the world is a stage. Right? You're all creators or all kinds of beings that have come collectively here to have the human experience. And now we're all here, and we're beginning to wake up, and we're realizing some people were doing some nefarious stuff, and they're working with these beings who are working with these beings. So my translation to the reptilians were, you guys only because they were saying to me stuff like, oh, we don't need ayahuasca to do what you do. You're farm food. Right? I'm like, oh, that's interesting. You guys are loaded with AI nanobots, and you pray to the eye on the pyramid. Do you realize you're in a box? That's all I asked them. And they were like, we're not trapped. We run this place. I go, that's cool. But have you ever been out of this place? And they were like, there is no out of this place. We run the whole thing. And that's when it got fun. I said, so I walked into the 4th grade class as a college senior. And the 4th grader's trying to tell me that there's no 5th grade. And he's convinced, but they run a mafia in the 4th grade all the way down to the 1st grade. And they're convinced we run this school, bro. And I'm like, you better graduate this class, because I'm the actual teacher now. You're not convincing me of anything. I've broken through your deceptive lie. I can see directly through it. However, you're not aware by any means that there's a 5D, are you? And they're trying to keep you in 4. They know you move through, but they can't go there. And then you go, well, why, Frank, can't they go there? The skin suit they wear activates on the 3 basic chakras, right? That's why they don't have common sense like we do. Yeah, they have laser guns and helmets and UFOs and mind things, and they could speak telepathically, and they could play all kinds of tricks with this weird shape-shifting illusion stuff inside the holographic matrix, and that's it. They can't do the all. That's cute to me. I'm like, look what you're doing. And I'm like, don't you see? They can't see. My red chakra, my lowest one, is activated to its fullest, but it's cut off from my crown chakra. There's no transmission to compassion or anything. No, I eat flesh. I like it squiggly and alive. The more wriggly and squiggly and the more fleshy, babyish it is, I love it. Well, you know you're not supposed to do that to advanced beings.
You sound like Smeagol.
Like,
yeah, right.
Like you eat chicken, right?
Yeah, of course I do.
And I'm
I
like,
do find it strange that an animal has to die a day for me to be happy. And I love animals. Does that make sense? That don't make any
Perfect sense. One of the things I said was, this place is psychotic.
Yeah.
We came to a place where I have to murder you with my face. And I have to eat that to survive. So I have to create corporations that farm you, that don't give you a choice, that give you the illusion of freedom. But there's fences that are electrified.
Right, exactly.
Stun guns on sticks. And I'm going to rip your baby from you. It goes on and on and on, right? I don't like to get overly descriptive. We get the picture, right? And you keep doing this to animal after animal after animal after animal. Mother's calling out for help into the universal structure, and source sent source, a whole bunch of it. So no matter how much we want to play out the human condition, we're reprogramming ourselves from the inside. I can't do anything from out here. They have free will and all kinds of other things are happening. For everyone that's afraid, you got someone that's not, right? And then you got someone afraid, someone that's not, and it swings it back and forth and back and forth. The collective consciousness, make up your mind. Are you scared or are you not? Now, in that swing vote, remember now, 20% guaranteed is leading you or trying to lead you or mislead you, right? So back in the day when the redcoats or the British would have dominion over a spot, let's say a giant prison where there's thousands of prisoners, they only had one soldier for every 100 men. And they didn't have superior weaponry. I mean, you could fire one shot at you. One. There's 100 of you for every one. So one guy gets shot, maybe has to take that shot. And then I can completely conquer you. Yet we're in fear and we walk around like we're hopeless and helpless. And we make all kinds of excuses of victimization. Now, I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings when I talk like this. I just have to bring it out for the reality that it is. The reality is there's a false structure there. Yeah, there's a wall. And we've all seen World War Z, right? So if I run at you with 1,000 men and you have 10 shots, 10, and then there's a wall, and the wall is high, the wall's 20 feet. You know how fast we're getting through that? With 1,000 men who just decide to go through it? It would be in moments, we would overwhelm them. They would have nothing. We would piggyback on each other up the wall until one guy gets up and starts pulling everyone up. Then you're in trouble. But see, we never think like that. We pull the crab in the bucket thing. We see Ralph trying to make it for freedom, and he breaks through, and he's got his little crew doing it, and you pull him back in. And you're like, oh, no, and you get the Stockholm syndrome, master-slave situation. Man. Right. And for everyone that tells you, I want you to succeed, is a person sitting there going, you know what, you ain't going to do nothing. You're a loser just like everyone else. And what they really mean to say is, I'm a loser.
That's right.
I'm judging everyone.
That's right.
Because I'm a loser, you have to be a loser in the bucket with me. It's a losing mentality. It's a victimization mentality. Who programmed you to be that way? But you have to experience it. So there's this dichotomy, because we're in that place, right? Good, evil, up, down, left, right. And then you feel like you're in the upside down. So we have to understand this. We have to go, okay, it's a mirror reflection of what, as above, so below. Mm-hmm. I'm the creator. I'm the all. I can't just snap my fingers, because some people play this game and they do stuff like walk into the tiger enclosure at the zoo and they go, I'm Jesus.
Yeah, I've seen that too. That always happens. Like, they don't understand that there's laws here too. This thing is a program for real.
Yes, it's literally designed to destroy you. So where you didn't unlock at that level. You might have felt you unlocked, but we're not quite there yet. But theoretically, it's there. If you believe there were lifetimes that you lived with animals like tigers and you rode on their backs with unicorns and stuff, most likely it's real. I would say 100% that's real. Now you'll say it's my fantasy, it's in my mind. How do you know? I just dropped a story on you that's ridiculously crazy. How do you know it's just not another version of you living that out and those thoughts are his, but you're all one, so it's yours, right? So one of the things that was quite amazing when I came out of ayahuasca, one of the things she did to me, she took this thing out of my chest. It was red, so I'm assuming it's a red chakra thing that wasn't working. She turned it, and I said, hey, give that back. And she put it back, and it said, I heard fixed. And I'm like, what's fixed? Ooh, I kind of feel good, though, all of a sudden. Suddenly, I knew how to make ayahuasca. This is where the Neo Shamanism starts to play in. I was like, I know how to make that. I know how to do that. She's like, can you prove it? I'm like, yeah. I think I can make DMT, too. I'm like, wait a second, that's chemistry. I failed chemistry every time I took chemistry.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, you're terrible at math as well, right? I'm like, yeah. So she starts just running stuff off at me, and I just start answering her. And I'm like, how do I know any of that? She's like, you are it. You've always been it. You've been a shaman over and over and over. Yeah, you've been other stuff, but there's a fraction of you, an amount out of 100% that is guaranteed that you're going to be a shaman because of your personality. Frank, you're always the same. It's always you. It's always you. Even when you're considered the villain and you're wearing that mask, you're still, when you go home at night, there's that version of you that'll, hey, we murder and killed everyone in the village, but then I go home and hug and kiss my wife and kid. Right? And they're like, that version, that part is the part of you that never changes, even though you've had to do other things. And I'm like, well, there's no way I've done any of those evil things. I would never do anything like that. And they were like 68%. And I'm like, what? They were like, you were the villain, the bad guy, 68% of the time. And I was like, what? They're like, shall we start? And I started returning fractals of myself. They're not you. They're projecting. You're standing in the torus again inside that donut where all the TV screens, right? Now imagine having to focus on all the screens at once while they're moving, because they move. The torus field folds in on itself. The more things change, the more they stay the same, because you're not going anywhere. The background changes, right? You get the 70s and the 60s and the 50s and the 40s, and each one was like this dichotomy that happened during that civilization era moment. We know how they dressed, we know how they looked, did they smoke, did they not smoke, and how they had sex and how they didn't, and what they thought, did they believe the government, did they not? We played these roles, we did these dances, we played these moves, we put ourselves into weird positions, and we had all these experiences. The more things change, the more they stayed the same. Where did anybody go? I still live in the same house that my great-grandfather purchased in 19 little teen numbers, one of 6 houses on Morris Park. We're all still here. Where'd you go? Well, the time's fully changed, though. Yeah, but we didn't go anywhere. Even if you went somewhere across the board, you're still connected. You didn't go anywhere. You just moved across a piece of land, but there is no time-space. You're still in the torus, just standing there. The torus moves. You don't move. And I'm like, wow. They're like, well, how do you think you're projecting your consciousness into all those screens at once? To have all those, that's how ridiculously awesome all of you are as creators. You can put your consciousness here and just stand here as the consciousness and focus on all of that at once. And you're living something in each of those. And each time you make a different choice creates a new one. So as the torus field sucks in on itself, right, the top of the donut hole sucks in, and then it pops back through fresh. So you're transmuting old energy, because nothing can't kill energy. It just transmutes into other energy, something different. So each choice you make and it changes the direction of this and creates that, which is what the creator does, right? And now you're all in here doing that all at once. And I'm like, whoa, this is pretty crazy, guys. And then you have your deceptive traps. But the place is set up as an illusion under the guise of they have you under control. And the true fact is, ain't nobody controlling nobody.
Yeah.
That's the reality of this. They say they're in control and you believe them. right?
Now then you give them power just because you believe it. Yeah.
Now people try this. They go, all right, well, if I run outside and punch someone, the cops come up and arrest me. I didn't ask for that. Yes, you did. You went outside and punched someone. Natural law says don't punch them. Right? Now, yeah, we get into situations and there's directives and it gets layered on top of BS and drama and more drama. And he said, she says, so decisions have to be made and it sucks sometimes. Don't cross the natural line, the natural border. Like, don't run out there and do crazy things. You know, don't covet the neighbor's wife.
That's right.
You should know that. Don't have sex with my girlfriend. I don't like it. Maybe she don't like it. Maybe she does. And if she does, go take her. If not, don't do it.
Close the door for sure. Right? Yeah, that's what we do throughout life. Now we close doors and then open up another one for sure. But you know, I think here's the thing. I know some of you guys want to call in. I can't imagine you not wanting to ask this guy some questions. 1-800-588-0335. Phone lines are open. If you want to ask a question, you can also join the Fringe FM chat room by going to thefringe.fm/chat room. Stay with us.
The Fringe FM.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Root on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is V, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I'll guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root in the show, and heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a New York Bell. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, a.k.a. the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Root.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to The Fringe FM.
Hey,
is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Have you ever seen an ad or banner which brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers.
Hey, Fringe listeners, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, asking you to join us live Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM. Visit BeyondTheStrange.com for links to chat, social media, and schedules of the show. And remember, always stay strange. Hasta.
Somewhere between abnormal and paranormal, there's a show called Into the Paranormal. I'm Jeremy Scott. Hear me live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern on the Fringe FM.
This is the Rogie Report news on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie. You may remember back in 2017, a large interstellar object called Oumuamua made its way through our solar system. Scientists have been puzzling over its origins and unusual characteristics ever since. In a new paper published in Nature Astronomy offers a new model to explain some of the object's oddities. Oumuamua could possibly be a fragment of a comet or even a super-Earth. The interstellar object was first discovered by the University of Hawaii's Pan-STARRS 1 telescope, which is part of NASA's Near-Earth Object Observation Program. The team dubbed it Oumuamua, Hawaiian for messenger from afar arriving first. Douglas Lynn, a co-author of the study, said, "Our objective is to come up with a comprehensive scenario based on well-understood physical principles to piece together all the tantalizing clues. We showed that Oumuamua-like interstellar objects can be produced through extensive tidal fragmentation during close encounters of their parent bodies with their host stars and then injected into interstellar space." And speaking of Earth-like planets, in a paper published in the Astrophysical Journal Letters explains that astronomers have found a new world around a distant star that is almost the same size as Earth and is in its star's habitable zone. The planet is called Kepler 1649c, and the data came from the now defunct Kepler K2 Space Telescope that observed nearly 200,000 stars for 4 years. Its mission was to calculate what fraction of the stars in the Milky Way have Earth-sized planets in their habitable zone. Jeff Coughlin from the SETI Institute said, "In terms of size and likely temperature, this is the most similar planet to Earth that has ever been found with Kepler." He continues, "It's incredible to me that we just found it now, 7 years after data collection stopped on the original Kepler field." The waking world has been affected by the quarantine, but what about the dream world? If you've been having more dream recall, you are not alone. Psychologist at Harvard Medical School, Deidre Barrett, said there's been a spike in many people remembering their dreams, and it has to do with something called REM rebound. She said the American population typically runs very sleep deprived, and when someone catches up on missed sleep, they can experience a surge in REM sleep. In an article in USA Today, Ian Wallace, a psychologist who specializes in dreams, said, "There is uncertainty during the day, inevitably influencing dreams at night, and beyond any threat of the virus, the loss of social connection is bound to manifest itself in our dreams." This is the Rogie Report news on the Fringe FM. I'm Jess Rogie.
Joe. Pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
Frank Castle's here with us tonight, a.k.a. Frankie Fearless. wearefearless.com. You know, it was funny, too, as we were going into the break, you were talking about natural law, that we come into these programs, you know, and we need to realize, once we have this realization, a lot of people have done that. They jump off a bridge or they get in a tiger cage or whatever, and we don't know that the cause and effect is still a natural law here. You know, it's one of the Hermetic principles. We don't realize it. And before the break, you're like, yeah, you know what? Don't steal my girlfriend or whatever. And then we went into break, and it was funny because I'm thinking, how did we end on that? And then so I'm having this discussion with you on break, and now I've heard you. Well, I'll let you tell the story. Like you have a partner now, right? Like that is. I feel like
greatest.
Yeah. Like it was very entertaining, very cool. I did watch a lot of your YouTube videos. Now, how did you guys meet? How did that come about?
So I was living with my ex at the time. I had come home from my tour, and she hated that I toured. Now, I didn't know Paula. I knew nothing about Paula. That's the girl I'm with now, my etherical translator, my co-host. The girl that I was living with was giving me so many problems, and she had went out one night. So I decided to have an experience in my living room. I started creating my own versions of ayahuasca, you know, trying to get it done and complete. I was eating mushrooms and doing all kinds of stuff, but every time, and I have done psychedelics in my life and never had any of these experiences, saw any beings, just tripped out and had a great time, Yankee game or something, or Pink Floyd, and I saw colors and stuff, but that was about as far as it went. I was in my living room, everything came, the experience hit me, and when I looked up, I was in Mamaroneck, New York. I was over by the sea, and I have this giant bay window, and I'm up on the third floor, and I look out, and there's a woman looking in at me as if she's outside the window, but looking through like another window, almost like as if she was in the building across the street, but the building across the street was right there. And she was like looking in, or if we were in, you know how they put the babies in those little incubators and put the plastic top over it and pump the stuff in? It's like we're inside there and she's on the outside looking at me, but I'm not a baby. And naturally it's me, Frank. I'm looking at you going, whoa. And she's kind of bigger. She looks bigger and everything, but she's also a cat being. She was a woman. She was cat lioness wearing an outfit that you would expect someone from Star Trek to be wearing.
right on.
It was so much cooler than that, but I can't explain it. It was like a one-piece jumpsuit that fits perfect. She had very big breasts for her size, and I was like, whoa. And I had been on the floor looking up because I had finished purging. So I'm flopping on the floor like a fish going, what's happening to my world? Oh, this girl's looking at me. Oh, it's a cat being woman. Oh, what's happening to me here? And I look over, and on either side of me, I have a guide on either side of me. They're both on one knee looking at me going, oh, she's here. She's here. And I'm like, what's going on? And she steps in and says, all you had to do is keep your eye on him. That's all you were asked to do. And I'm like, what's going on? Hello? Does anyone see the Thundercat in the room? Hello? She just walked in. She's gorgeous, by the way. Look at the size of her and look how she looked. And they were going, dude. They didn't say dude. They were like, listen, stop being so disrespectful. And I was like, you're telling me, the rock star, that she doesn't have beautiful boobs? Like I kept saying that because they were huge. But it took me by surprise. I was so shocked. And they were like, it's her. And she's like, I'm coming for you, Frank. Frank, I'm coming. I'll be with you soon. So I go through this experience that night afterwards, and I find out from Aya that girl she's gonna tell me first thing in the morning to leave.
The girl you were living with.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I laughed at that. I'm like, this girl loves me. She's a pain in the butt, but she loves me. Whatever. That morning, there was scrambled eggs, toast, coffee, cigarette, a joint rolled. I'm like, oh, look at this. Thank you. Good morning. I had some experience. Oh, you had a good experience last night? Okay, check it out. I want you out of the house by Saturday. And I want you, she looked me right in the face. I said, are you serious? She pointed to the door, get the F out.
Oh.
And I said, what did I do to you? She goes, I can't stand you. I literally can't stand you. So I was like, whoa. So I hit rock bottom. I lost my job. I lost, you're losing money, bleeding out of me because I'm not getting paid. Then I lose my girlfriend and my house on the water, my apartment. Then I moved back in with my grandparents, and my mother lives here as well. Now I'm 40 years old living here, wondering what the hell's happening to my life. And I start making the ayahuasca here, start just going experience after experience. Every couple of days I throw it down. I'm like, whoa. And my friend says, hey man, got to get you out of the house. I swear it was like 3 months later. He says, you got to come out. Your singer, Danielle, is performing with another band and you don't even care. And she's going to be at this place and she's awesome. And I'm like, I know she's awesome. That's my singer for 20 years. You need to come and see her. She loves you. You love her. So I'm like, I'm not hooking up with my singer. I've been on tour with her. He's like, no, you got to come out. So I came out that night and it was me, him, and his girlfriend. And he pulls up and we pick up this girl. She gets in the car. His girlfriend's best friend. She had lived not even 2 miles from me my whole life. Never saw her. Hung out with the same people that were slightly older than me, like 2-3 years older. And she knew all of the same people. And I never saw her. And I would recognize her because she's hyper Italian, but she's Asian, right? She's about 4'8", and she's got giant breasts. And she looks like an Egyptian Asian cat woman. And I'm like, what? So I start talking to her. It was the night before Easter 5 years ago. And she does an impersonation. She's like, I know your brother. Your brother's Rob Banks. He does sanitation, though. And my brother's in the rap group. So I'm like, oh, you know sanitation, Rob. I was making a joke. She goes, yeah, I'm going to do an impersonation of him. So now, when I saw the cat being, when I was under, she said, you're going to know me because it's the cat being. It's the cat woman. It's me. So that's how you're going to know it's me. So Paula starts impersonating my brother. And she goes, every time I go down this block to pick it up, there's always this hot Asian chick there. And there's all these cats in front of the house, right? And you would just think like the nastiest people live in this house because the garbage and the smell and the thing, da-da-da-da. And then boom, out comes this chick. And she's like, hey, take a look at me. Do I look like the crazy cat lady? Nah, I'm the cat woman. I'm the cat woman. I'm the cat woman. I go, yo, she said it 3 times. It was like, it echoed. And I said, what'd you just say? And she goes, I'm the cat woman. And I'm looking at her going, you're built exactly like that cat being, except you're a little shorter. You're human. You look exactly the same when I'm looking at you. And she goes, yeah, that's cool. So I tell her the story. I says, I have to tell you this. So she was very interested in the whole topic. So we discussed DMT, ayahuasca, was discussing my experiences with her. And then I said, they make fun of me because the Frank Castle thing, right? So it's like, are you the Punisher? Are you the rapper? Are you, what are you? Like, what are you trying to do here? Is Marvel Comics suing you? Do you just want to be this character in the comics? Do you kill people? Like, what is your deal? So I had explained to me, why you're Frank Castle, right? And I'm like, no, I just kind of, that's my name. So don't wear it out. I don't know, so she's like, no, you wear the Punisher thing. You're into the comic books and whatever, and it's all part of you. However, and then it was like a cardboard cutout of me being the Punisher. Like, you come here and I'll kill you and everyone else. I'll punish you. And then behind the cardboard cutout, I was dressed as like Spider-Man, and the outfit didn't fit, like I was a little kid. And I was like, shh, don't tell them, then they'll come over here. And I'm like, what is that? They're like, well, you're really a good guy, like a good guy. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm hiding as the Punisher. They're like, no, everyone's wearing the mask. Everyone is wearing the mask. You're wearing Frank Castle's in real life. So you get caught up into that whole wave of things. I even had a guy that tried to call himself Frank Castle in rap in like 2014 or something. And I'm like, I hate to break it to you, guy, but I've been doing this since you're a baby. And it's my name. Don't wear it out. Right? Like, Marvel can't come and get me. You can't come get me. Right? Like, you're beat. So it becomes this different thing.
Does she do this stuff too, like DMT and ayahuasca, though?
Yes.
Like with you? That's incredible.
She has become a shaman to me in many ways. For as much as she's like me, she's completely not like me. She's very soft, kind, beautiful at all times. She is literally the sacred feminine as you would describe it. As you could write it down and say, this is my description of the sacred feminine that needs to rise right now. And I feel like our paths had crossed right into our experience. The first time we drank ayahuasca together, she trusted me. And let me tell you, I wasn't reducing the liquid back then, which means to make the cup, the liquid in the cup, a certain amount. So we were drinking red cups, that you'd get at a keg party.
Yeah, the solo
drinking
cups.
Cups of it. The solo cups. We were drinking cups of it. Now I have it down to a shot glass with the same potency, but we were literally drinking the whole thing. Like I would make some, like 100 grams. They're like, dude, that's a lot. You only need like 12 to get in, 20 to have a good experience. You guys are blasting 50 each and you're just chugging it. And I'm like, the universe rewards bravery. No one's ever died from this. I've been under 1,000 times now, and I'm not a junkie with it. What I'm doing is I'm learning from all the different things and all the different beings and whoever comes forward and whoever wants to teach me or whatever lesson needs to be taught. And I'm there to learn it. I'm there to be part of it. So as I go in, I'm not junking out. I don't rely on her. People ask me, well, when was the last time you drank now? I'm like, last year. I do other things though as well. There's mushrooms and there's other experiences that you could try. So I'm trying other things. I'm going through my experiences the way I feel I need to do them. And it's nobody's concern or business. However, because of the story that you hear from me on Fearless on Saturday nights, you would assume that I'm some kind of guy that just makes ayahuasca, brews it, sits down in his basement and drinks it. I did that in the beginning. I did it so much in the beginning where I would do like 7 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, 4 days off, the weekend, right? So then Paula doesn't do anything like that. She'll do it once with you and then wait to another time. But our first experience, she put her trust into me, said, you got me? So I got you. She drank. The first thing that happened was Aya was like, you remember who she is, right? And I'm like, no, it's Paula. I love her. And we're just getting to know each other, but whatever. And she's like, take a look. And boom, instant Egyptian. I was standing there with the blue thing on my head and the tunic around my waist. And she comes forward and she's like cleaning me as I came home from something. I don't even know. I was holding a staff and I was jacked out of my face. And I looked exactly like me, except like the 6-foot version. I'm 5'8". So, and she was really short and she was tall there and beautiful. And once again, she had really big boobs. It's almost like once you see it, you go, oh, we're morphing and changing each time, but only slightly because of the DNA, the soul DNA.
So you've had many lives with this woman.
Oh, over and over and over. And this whole time, the reason why we never saw each other was because the powers that be, are suppressing us from being around our soul family. So they trick us, right? They put us right next to each other and they go, well, she'll hate hip hop and white guys that act like Eminem or something. And then she'll like country. And these are just little examples, and never look in his direction. And Frank will absolutely hate country. It's like my best friend, Josh, he's in a pretty popular punk rock group, and he doesn't like rap and I don't like punk rock, but we never, upon meeting, even though we both knew who each other were, never went that route. We just started talking. We didn't even go with music. We didn't even talk about music. Talk about everything but music. And we became really good friends and realized that they set up these walls in the programming so we don't meet, because they don't want us popping off and meeting each other. They don't want us happy. And it's only that faction, that crew, that fourth grade classroom, 4D and down, those beings that are nefarious. Just so not all reptilians are bad. It's one section of them. So those guys, they did this. These other guys did this. Then that toppled on top of that. Now there's a feeding structure. You guys are here to topple the structure. Pretty simple, but completely ridiculous. But you're the best at it because you're source. You're literally the all. It takes the all to do this.
So there's something here trying to keep soul families from finding each other too? Trying
the whole
to
thing.
Yeah.
All right. So imagine when two or more gather in my name, 3 or more gather in my name, you become an unstoppable force, right? So you take that as witchcraft at first and as demonic stuff or whatever, and then you learn that 666 has nothing to do with the devil, right? It's just part of the programming and the sequences. And then when 3 of you sit around, there's nothing you can't do. Literally, you bring it to life through the 3 people. Well, what do you bring to life? Well, I'll keep it simple. We'll go metaphors. No demon can harm the 3 of us. If the 3 of us are here and we're like, nope. Now, if 2 are here, a demon might come in because we're not quite ascended yet into masterful positions and can slap you around. But in no way, shape, or form can it win if there's 3 of you. It just can't. All you have to do is go, nope, I don't think so. And believe it. You have to believe it. It's not just, oh, you can't get me, I'm the creator. You have to mean it. Even if you say it like a child. Even if you say it and your voice shakes, you have to believe it. Upon the belief, that should be the thing that happens with no problem. You have to get it to, I believe. I already believe. I've already seen it. I've felt it. I'm part of it. I've expanded. I've contracted within the great breath. I get it. Now you're here telling me what? You're going to eat my soul, damage my whatever, kill my mother, rape the babies. I get it. I get it. That's cool. The answer is no. There's no contract. There's no deal. You get nothing. Go home or get transmuted. End of story. And they go, oh, he's awake. And they just walk away. My confrontations with the reptilians, I didn't know. For as much as you see that stuff on the other side in hyperspace, and you're like, wow, that's pretty real. Then you get 3D real, where they walk in through the 3rd floor window, and they bring 7 of them, and they step into the room while you're with a handful of people under your first shamanic ayahuasca experience. And I have to confront them because everyone else is scared and throwing up and freaking out and losing their lunch. And I'm like, so what's up, guys? Right? What's up? And I hear people yelling, I won't leave you. And I'm like, I'm not under ayahuasca yet. I just put them under, and I took my just drink now. How do you got? And then I touched one. And they were like, if you touch us again, you're food. Natural law. Remember, you can't touch no one. Something I've learned the hard way. You keep pressing buttons on the other side. Eventually something comes out and smacks you in the face. It's like, don't touch without permission. Even the villains will tell you that. They're like, we're not here to eat you. We're not here to do that. We're here to show you we're here. We're here to warn you we're watching you. So I said, okay. So what are you watching me do? And they're like, see over here, you're just Frank. Right? You're just food. I'm like, oh, food again. You guys keep wanting to eat me. All right. So they're like, yeah, we've gone past just having to physically rip you apart and eat you. We take your energy because we don't need ayahuasca to do the things that you do. Ha. Right? But we also don't speak with the farm animals either. Do you talk to the cow before you slaughter it and have a hamburger? Give me a break. Right. Very much like that. I'm like, yeah, but you're here talking to me. So apparently I am important. They're like, yeah, see, you're over here. You're just Frank and you're doing your thing and it's cute and all. But you on this side, futuristically speaking, are a very big pain in our butt. Huge. Immense. And they showed me as if they were like opening a little TV in front of me, a screen, and showing me turn into the light being and give you, there's nothing you could do. They actually can't do nothing. But natural law also doesn't have them in the streets eating us. If they walk out into the street and strike their sticks on the ground and start attacking people, there's not enough of them to fight us. They can't win against us. It's scary and it's crazy, but then we're getting into that one soldier per 1,000 people situation. You get into that with them because they can't all come here because the vibration's rising, the frequency's rising. Well, you can't be here. If you can't get into 5D, what makes you think you could stay here? You have to leave. So they stole the process. 2012 is really happening now. This is just it's like a stalling in time where they're like, we have to stop the progression the best we can.
Yeah, we got to stop let's have them social distance from each other and just stay glued to the media and their computer screens all the time. Yeah.
Just watch what we're telling you, and it's only okay if we just prescribe it to you. And there's no way out of this unless we tell you there's a way into it. Like up is down, left is right. I mean, come on, let's be serious for a second. We look up in the sky, right? We could not want to believe in chemtrails, but yet we are watching them take place. And we say, oh, well, it's a contrail. All right, you say tomato, I say tomato. I say they're spraying us with nanobots. They're spraying us with viruses and infections. Where do you think this stuff is coming from? And why does it always happen on time? Like a clock. Notice the patterns and recognize them. With your awareness comes responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. It's the same stuff.
Yeah.
And you're made of the best stuff. All of it. You're made of the garbage stuff too, but guess what? It's not garbage. It's just the way not to do it, playing with the way to do it, so you can figure out the whole thing and have creation and have free will and stuff. That's why they say at the end, you're not going to hate your enemy. You're going to thank them in one way or another because you're here and they're now there. And you're like, oh, I'm compassionate for you because you don't make it. Not this round.
What do you think? What do you think about this whole, this COVID-19 thing? This where it's causing us to people. I'm telling you, I've talked to enough people where they're just getting sick of it. They don't care what the rules are or whatever. And then there's the other people that are in fear, like, oh, you guys are, selfish, right? You're going out and killing people. But yet I go into my town and I tell everybody, I'm like, do you know anybody that's died from this? Do you know anybody? And I'm not saying people haven't. I'm sure they have. But I don't think it's my intuition tells me that it's a ruse. Like it's a real thing. Like the virus is a real thing. The damage, whatever it's doing, is a real thing, but there's another agenda going on. I mean, they're launching a satellite grid over the planet right now.
Right. For 5G.
Yeah.
Okay. So under the guise of the pandemic, it becomes they call this 5D chess, right? We're watching Trump play 5D chess against the deep state. The deep state is pretty much random throughout the planet in the cartels that they're in. So you have China, Russia, USA, and every other country has people involved in it. And they make it seem like they own the whole thing, but they don't, although they do siphon all the money and they come out this way. But yet you see Trump on all these weird levels winning against these moves where did China release the coronavirus? Did they release it? Well, if they release that and then, what the U.S. finds out if that's true, they have a first strike nuke attack. Like you're not supposed to ask questions. You launch a nuke at these people if they attack you with that bioweapon. Now you have somebody in there going, everybody go in the house. We got to get everybody home. The virus is spreading. And then Bill Gates pops up. Madonna pops up. All these crazy characters pop up. They're getting blamed for pedophiles, for satanic things, for nanobots. You got Abramovich, that crazy witch chick that hangs out with Lady Gaga. They all start popping up and doing commercials, and you're like, hey, what's going on here? Hey, what is this thing that's happening? And then you see Trump turn around and go, well, we're getting rid of the World Health Organization. We're not listening to the CDC. All your numbers are wrong. And Bill Gates, you're out of here. He threw the gauntlet down. So we're in that final time. Now, here's something weird with the coronavirus, right? We have comets coming in and asteroids. There's something happening right now. There's 2 comets that are incoming. There were comets with COVID-19 and COVID-20, and then they're called this now or that now, and the blue Kachina. There's a virus that's out there, and under the guise of the virus, they have everybody in their house distancing, not being outside and not looking up, all under the guise of perhaps a Cold War with China that may go live. You can't shoot nobody, and if you're in the deep state in a movie theater, if there's no one in the movie theater. You can't run a child sex slavery ring if you can't catch any children because they're all home with their parents. You can't buck the system if you're still playing the game within the system, right? So under the guise of the virus, perfect timing if they release that virus and it was a bioweapon, but wait, it's not quite ready yet. And I hate to say it, but this virus thing was out last year because a whole bunch of us were sick with these symptoms and thought we were dying. And now it's like I'm immune to it because it is there. But it's not. They're telling you, everyone, that you break a leg and you die, you you die of the coronavirus, right? So they're marketing up numbers. Now you're like, okay, so the deep state's marketing up numbers, so the feds have to come in, and then they get the money from the government for the respirators, and then the da-da-da-da-da-da, and you realize that Trump's just shutting off the switches to all their money.
Yeah, because it don't make sense, right? Your tests don't add up. Medically, this stuff don't add up. There's nothing's making sense about this thing. There's been too many doctors come out saying this is crazy, you know.
And then they're trying to hide the actual, I forgot the name of the pharmaceutical that would clear it up really quick. And they're saying now the doctors don't prescribe that, but yet anyone that has been prescribed that is healed within days, right? So you're like, oh, what is going on? This is too big. This is a global shutdown under the guise of a pandemic. Wait, so Bill Gates wants you to wait till possibly next year and then have a ID tracker that says, I got my vaccination. So now I'm good to go, to the store? I can travel on a plane, a train, a bus, in my car. I can't leave my house. I can leave my house. Well, if you take the shot, you could do it. Well, what's in these shots? So a
nanosynthetic protein, quote, vaccine. Yeah, but...
Okay, so once they activate the 5G with the nano in you, right, this is where people are thrown off, like, oh, the virus and it's the 5G. No, it's not. It's the vaccination with the nano. And then them turning on the frequencies. The frequency will then, once again, put you into that 4% awareness if you're loaded with nano. Right? Then we get into a situation like the reptilians are in, where they're loaded with nano and they're the kings of the 4th grade. Right? We become the king of whatever grade we think we're in. And that's it. You get stuck at that layer. But we can't be stuck because we're creators, right? So what's happening? Source sent us. We're all popping off now. Well, everything that's in the ether that's not part of the distraction is, hey, go meditate, do the hard work, get it done, love yourself, love the one you're with. If not, get out. Don't hang on and make weird sacrifices that aren't necessary. Like we sometimes hang on for the good of this or that, and it really good. The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, right. Like you didn't hang on to the one that was like, right. You're leaving. You're like, all right, I'm leaving. Well, what did I do?
I hung on to that till the end. Oh, it's like, yeah, you rode it right into a brick wall. Are you happy you did that? Does that make you feel better that you went head first into the brick wall? Because you could have just let go of the wheel and got out of the car. You could have literally stepped on the brake and stopped the car. You had 10 lifetimes to take your foot off the pedal, but opted to go, So we're making these weirdo choices, and as we're going. So now all of our awareness, they call it the singularity, and you become the singularity of all of those fractal versions of you out there. So they're not really out there. It's just your focus. So people are like, it's returning to me. It's only gnosis and knowledge returning. Okay. You're already whole. You've never not been whole. You've just been put in a framework of programming, and you're rewriting it from the inside because you couldn't do it from the outside because of free will, natural law. You can't get involved from out there. You can only whisper in the ear, just like the demon can. Then the demon goes, I could just get in you and then break natural law through just, whatever you would think a demon-infested person could do, right? Now I'm going to create the new virus and run the world just like Cobra Commander. It gets crazy. So we come in to stamp it out before it gets permanent. Okay? Now, they call it jumping timelines. We're going into the optimum timeline. We're in the optimum timeline. This guy Trump, it's been written in history, and his words in gematria all lead up to the same thing. If we put it in a numerical value, it leads to the same thing, glory to the divine and victory to the people, victory to the light and everything. It's like, yeah. Okay, so you have to have a belief structure and activate the 144,000 through actually doing the hard work on the planet and going, I'm hurt, I'm injured, the doctors are telling me you'll never walk again. Well, I don't believe you, so I'm going to find the way. But wait, there's got to be something. There's always something. But everyone told me no. Boom, right at the last moment, out of nowhere. Boom, I'll try ayahuasca. Worked for me. I literally don't have any addictions anymore. How many times do you have to drink it? Well, a couple, but it starts the process, and it's a good process. It's like, well, yeah, I'm a shitty person, so I'm going to just do this. Yeah. And then, boom, you come out of it, and you're done. You're like, wait a second. I'm not that person anymore. It's like, no, it's never been a better time than right now. Never been a better time to get up and stand up right now. But I'm on my knee and I'm victimized and nanobots and reptilians and ETs with spaceships. It's like, dude, stand up. Get up. And then you stand up and go, oh, wait a second. So they're not creators. It's like, no, that's a reptilian. That's an ET. Everything exists. That's Sasquatch. That's this. That's this. However, you're all one. You got it? I got it. Okay. So now you're infinite and you're the all. So what is this thing? What can it do to you? What can it do to you? I'm like, well, it can't do anything to me. I'm invincible, indestructible, unbreakable, unshakable. And it's all because of what? A belief system, right? In myself and the structure. I go, how come when I go, you guys wanted the creator and now I'm here. Why do they run from me? When these things are way bigger, way stronger, sharks with lasers, why are they running from me? Well, because it's not going to work, because it's an illusion. It's an illusion of domination and power, right? Go talk to your neighbor. It's really not that bad out there. And then you're like, wait, it's really not that bad out here. But they said the Bronx is in lockdown and everyone's dying of the virus. Well, it's moderately packed in the hospital. The other one's empty. Yes, I hear sirens, but I don't see nobody doing anything wrong. There's not one report of anything wrong except they're breaking into cars once in a while because you got junkies out there doing it time to time. Okay, well, does anyone murder anyone? No, not really. Oh, you mean so it's working? You mean things are all right? People are holding doors open for people even though there's a 6 foot apart thing and whatever? Oh, yeah. Still smiling and saying good morning? Yep, there's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Use your senses. Reach out. All right, so beings that rock certain chakras, and not all of them, because it's the skin suit and everything, they lose out in certain things like common sense. So you can build me a UFO from scratch, but you don't know it's wrong to not go next door and eat my friend's mother. That didn't sound right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
There
right.
was someone.
Yeah, right.
Sorry about that. So that's common sense.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that. You know that, right? You shouldn't set my house on fire because I would die inside the fire, right? It was a big joke. No, you don't do that. That's common sense.
Right.
No, they run off a different operating system. So when you try to explain 5D and you try to say, you smell disgusting, you guys smell like pee, because they do. That's what lizards smell like at that level. They secrete this stuff. And I'm like, that's disgusting. And they're like, well, you're flesh. I'm like, nobody likes the smelly kid on the bus, but it's common sense. And it's rude to show up and smell on the bus.
Yeah, like
because then everybody goes inside of the bus. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, no wonder you guys aren't that close to godhood. You got UFOs and stuff, but your soul's not clean. Right? You're not doing it right. You're doing it all wrong. Right? But yet they're the dominating factor in that situation. And you're standing there naked and they're in full war armor. And you're like, no, but you're doing it wrong, guys. Right? And when you show up naked and being a metaphor to the situation, I don't need armor. I don't need anything. I'm everything. And that provides within itself. My DNA is activated. These things run. I've never seen things run so fast. Right? It's like bullies instantly get frightened to death. They freak out. Oh, he's the creator. Oh, yeah. I'm like, look at me. I'm looking at you. You're the one that looks like a giant talking dinosaur. If anyone
so you can see these beings or feel them now, like when they're around.
So I have my ability to describe it is to see. I can see up in frequency, and I can see down in frequency. So it's an awareness. It will hit like a hair standing on the back of your neck. And then you take a deep breath and try to tune into what's around you, and boom, visual, instant visual. But as I work my way up, because I don't know how much time we have left, but as I work my way up through my experiences, I've had them come in my house. I've had them last October, or it was the end of last summer, come into my home. They were doing something on my block. So I live on a ley line. Ley line is an energetic line in the grid of the planet Earth. These things dominate the ley lines. It's the grid in which we connect with nature and everything. They dominate it. Well, I live on one. And they've constantly warred over this. We're going to war. We're going at you. We're going at you. We're constantly denying them and activating within the ley line, within the area, to reconnect with Mother Earth and nature. So you're not, and it's simple stuff like you won't pollute no more. You pick up the trash in front of your house. You'll help the old lady up the stairs with her bags. You'll be conscious about the driving space, because we know here in the Bronx, all the spaces are tight. And it's not just F you, I take up 2 spots. There's a compassion to the whole thing. And we turn and twist in the situation. But to get there and to do all that, you have to go step into it. You have to step into that arena. You have to go through the reptilians. You have to go through the Pleiadians. You have to go through the Arcturians. You got to go through. And it's just like meeting the characters, versions of you. Like if you want to know what the reptilians are doing, and you ask, what are they doing? And why do they do that? Why do they eat people? Well, Source isn't going to explain it to you. You're going to go and become a reptilian. So you go to the fractal version of you. That's one of them, because you're the all. And you go, oh, that's why they feel like this. And that's why they do those things. And that's why they do this. And that's why they do that. And then you come out and then you go back to Frank or Joe and you go, okay, now I know what they're doing. And then you make your moves in your life around the obstacles that are literally there to distract you. Like knowing you're not supposed to watch the news. Why are you still watching it? Right? Why you say, well, it's pulling me in. Do you know it's rated at a frequency to pull you in? Literally to distract you and suck your attention out of you to focus on this instead of that. Instead of focusing on the woman you love, perhaps, that's in your house, that's always complaining and maybe you're playing video games. Or vice versa, there's always these situations. Now you're in a situation where we're all in our homes. And do you love the person you're with? Can you be there? Can you be service to others and service to self? Can you do it for a month? Can you? Do you truly love this person? Or do you need to get out of here? And you can't wait for this to be over so I could leave, get a divorce and run out. Like, where are you at? Because this is that moment. If you haven't been doing the work, it's activation time, baby.
Yeah, see, I heard that from a lot of people too, man. Like there's this personal astrologer I follow. He says that people will be going to certain communities, coming together, especially spiritually in their lives. Even like friendships that way too, relationships, people will come together in a different way, like more like for creative purposes and all kinds of different, like bigger purposes. Like all of the people are coming together for bigger purposes now, like what you're talking about.
And at the same time, they say brother will be against brother. There will be a division of the two things. But what will happen? You accumulate and you coalesce with those with the greater mind where you're working, like the level you're at. You start to attract those people like the great magnet, to realize that I'm born into some families and through the DNA, yeah, we're family and everything, but I'm really have no soul relation to any of these people. It was a contract that let me come out onto the chessboard of life. And then you're brought out that way and the contract's up. And then you're like, well, my dad was really terrible to me my whole life and I don't understand why. And I keep trying. It's like, sometimes you don't have to try. You're there for the experience. He turns this into that and you could walk away. You could close the contract out and leave, because what's your true purpose? Is your purpose here to fight it out with your dad till you finally get the love, or to go out and become the greatest father that you could see in your mind's eye? Right? Like my father was really bad with me and my brother at one point. It was terrible. And my brother grew into one of the best fathers. So I'm like, dude, you're like dad, except all the good stuff and none of the bad stuff. So you grow and become that which your dad couldn't provide to you. Right? These are just metaphors and examples to go out and do and become more. You had to do that so you could become this. He wore the mask, treated you the way he did. It's when you want to hang on and drive it into the wall that it becomes the problem. You learned the experience. You already know he let you down 500 times. Did you think on 501 he's going to change? It's not his job to change. You're not here to change anyone. You're here to change you. So he wears the mask until you activate and start doing your other things, which is why you hear about people went out on the road at 16, became my own man, now I'm a famous comedian, but I had nothing. Or I had $10 in my pocket and a song in my mind, met a producer, came in, sang it, boom, 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 and it's all done. Well, you had to get kind of kicked out. And these are just examples. naturally. And we could go down any version of the example and you say, well, what about this? And yes, of course, it was necessary. Well, what about this? And people don't want to hear that. They go, what about the people in Africa that are starving, Frank? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not in Africa. I don't want them to starve. But I have starving people two houses down from me. Their house burnt down. So you know what? I can feed them. Okay? No, I don't like people as much as you might think, but I have 12 cats. And I love them more than I love most people. That's fine. And you're the cat person. There's dogs that need that, cats that need that, birds that need that, people that need that. What's your purpose? Everyone's got something.
We only got a few more minutes here left. So if people learn how to get into this realm, right, whether it's through ayahuasca, DMT, or astral travel, or whatever, what do they need to be doing at that point, according to what your beliefs are, or your experience?
It's not an external thing, right? You're the projector. So if you're seeing something you don't like, the mirror is being held for you. It's like, well, I know that I don't like that, so don't be that way. Be this way. So I say, work on you, change you, love you. There's service to others and service to self. Find the balance between two. And you know what? It's important for you to be selfish to you sometimes, but you can be selfish without hurting anyone. Like, I'm going to disconnect from social media for a week. I'm going to see just what happens. I'm going to science it and see if my life gets better. I'm going to break that addiction, then go and do it. And then come back. And the people are mad at you that you haven't been there. And you're like, hey, I got to do this for me because it's an addiction. It's driving me in. I have to see if I could stop. Right? Like, you have to go and make the change. If you don't like something and you're aware of it, it's up to you to change it. That doesn't mean go next door and kick your neighbor because the lawn's overgrown and you don't like it. That's none of your business. It becomes your business when it crosses over and cross-contaminates in a certain way. But at the same time, stop judging. My neighbor, if you saw him, every single person listening right now would come with me and get a pitchfork and a flame, and we'd go next door and take care of this guy. But you can't do it. So I have to make my house just awesome enough to where his house doesn't affect mine, right? Whether it's the loud music, the smells, the disgusting rats, or whatever, you do what you can to do what you got to do, okay? Once it starts encroaching, then you start making moves the other way. Till then, stop being judgy McJudgy with each other. Understand that person's not intelligent. They're not smart. They don't have the common sense. They don't have the awareness for it. And you know what? It's not your job to get angry and start teaching people. It's your job to start leading by example within you. That light to shine, go inside, pull it out, remove the programming, show me you with no mask. You will be quite surprised and very happy.
That's so cool, happy. Man. Yeah, I agree, man. I do. And I think we should all be openly and more ourselves. I could say that I've always been myself, but the truth is, I've probably been about 90%, but it's time to go the extra 10, It's time to be all of who we're supposed to be. I agree with you on that. And you're going, and now, so Saturday nights you have your show on YouTube every Saturday night, yes. Right?
The name of the channel is Frank Castle Fearless, and the name of the show is Fearless.
Yeah, well, you got to come back on the show, man. While we're going through all this stuff, we got to have you back at some point. You got to come talk to us and tell us what's been going on, right? Because I want to meet Space Jesus.
Yes, me too, right? Space Jesus is the best. As a matter of fact, this reminds me, Space Jesus, I felt like he was poking me on the back of the neck earlier. It's an inside joke on what's going on, but let me tell you, once you pull that energy in and that awareness, it is one of the most beautiful moments that you can have, to have the awareness. Oh, you're real. You're there. And you're all about cheering me into the next position and helping me with that. Can I do anything for you? And he's like, no, man, I just love you. Just love me back. I love you too, man. And you're like, wow, this is fucking, excuse me.
It's all right. You didn't say the whole word, so I don't got to hit the red button. You didn't finish it. Good.
It's really quite beautiful. They're all there. The Shivas and the Ganeshes and the Ra. And we didn't even discuss any of that stuff.
Yeah, well, you talked about Lucifer and Satan. That got everybody's attention pretty quick,
I know. And people will go, well, so he talked to Lucifer, so he talked to Satan. Yeah, I talk common sense with them. So don't worry about it. I'm not doing any weird sacrifices or anything that would be nefarious in any way, shape, or form. You need to see the truth for what it is. We need to stop dressing it, right? with, look, there's the truth. And it's like, yeah, but put a suit and tie on it so I enjoy it better. No, it's still the truth. All right, you know what? Make it wet and then yummy when you drink it. No, it's the truth. The truth is just the truth. Or do you want a version of the truth? Do you want the truth to not hurt you? I got to give you like 42% of the truth then. Or I could lead you into the direction, but only give you 80%. Right? What do you want? Well, I want the truth. Are you ready for the truth? Because the truth's going to hit like a hammer. But it's also going to be one of the greatest days you've ever experienced, no matter how insanely crazy it seems. Right? All roads lead back to you. Why is that? Why does the teacher keep leading back to you? The student becomes the teacher's teacher student. Why does it keep rotating like that? Oh, it's because it's you. It's always been you. And yes, you are that important. And you are that loved. And you are that being. And you are more. And you are all. You're never not it. You don't have to go out there and get it. You have to just change your belief system and your structure, the way your thought system works, because you've been programmed inside of a body. But we all know you're not your body, but you are your body, but you're not your body. You're so much more. Prove it. Break the programming. Become incredible. Become more beautiful. Do more. Do less crap. Do more stuff that you love. Laugh more. You know what? You're a guy. You're all uptight. Like you got a diamond in your butt. Cry more. Yeah. Let it out, big guy. Come here. Give me a hug. Let it out. It's so beautiful, right? You could say it's beautiful without having someone come up on you going, that's not really manly. And we know what they really say. And it's like, just let it out. Be you. Drop the mask. Anyone who would snap on you or make fun of you for dropping the mask and being the real you shows you what layer and what level they're on. You have compassion for that because you're like, oh, they're coming at me with a first grade attitude and I'm in 8th grade training.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Different layers, different levels for each person. So knowing that, you have a hyper advantage. Why? Well, you're the creator. You're all, and it's time that you access yourself and wake up in this. So to keep it fantastical and awesome, to save the planet. You're here to save the day. You really are a superhero in those direct terms. It's you. It's me. It's us. We're one. Activate. Let's get over this stuff. People want blue people from hyperspace to come out of a spaceship in a UFO and be like, we will help you, do whatever. Yeah. I'm like, you still look at the Chinese guy and call him a racist name.
Yeah.
So when she comes out of the spaceship, you're going to go, well, he's blue. You know what else is blue? I get blue. You can't do that. He's not going to show up for you if you're still doing stuff like that.
Well, man,
you want that fear. You got to give in. You got to be like, I believe in the magic, bro. Show me. I'm ready. I am the all. I'm ready. Show me. I believe.
Yeah.
I believe. You got to believe in the magic to see the magic. The more you say, oh, I got to believe it when I see it, you're not going to see it. That you're using your power spell casting against yourself. Be like, of course it exists. I am the all. Show me the magic. It is real and I am ready. Now. Right now. Like
especially now they got us all caged in. Man, I'm definitely going to go traverse your YouTube channel too. So we do got to roll out of here, but thanks for coming on, man. We got to do this again. Thank you.
My brother, I love you, man.
I love you too,
Great
man.
Awakening. I'm happy to be here.
Right on.
Thank you for having me. And everyone listening, I love you too. Remember to stay fearless and that the universe rewards bravery. Thank you so much for letting me talk.
Absolutely. Frankie Fearless, Frank Castle. What is it? IamWeAreFearless.com. That's right. IamWeAreFearless.com. Go check out the show. Please don't copy this show without written permission. Big shout out to Pacho for making this happen. All of you guys at the Fringe FM, Barbara, Amanda, Dennis, Don, Jeremy Scott, Eric Markham, all you in the Fringe FM chat. We'll be back tomorrow night for Open Lines. The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gables coming up. Have a good night. Oh, yeah, music by Chronux and Steezy Stevie, too. Got to give them a shout out. See you guys tomorrow night. Good night.
On this program do not necessarily reflect those of the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting, its sponsors, affiliates, or staff. Listener discretion is advised.